God damn it, memes. Okay, we'll just fucking do it live. God damn it. Are we fucking live? Yeah? All right. No, nothing. I was trying to do it O'Reilly. It failed. The Redeye stream number 129. Are YouTubers stuck in the past? I'm mainly talking about the debates that have been going on in the community. But also, Rat had brought up a good point in his video. Like, Sargon seems to just be recycling old fucking shit. His heart's not really in it anymore. And this whole UKIP stunt they're all seem to be making, that's kind of interesting also. I want to get your thoughts on that, Jensen. Are you going to join UKIP, sir? No? Well, asked and answered.
Time to join. Did you actually go and have a look?
Doesn't it just cost like £30 or something like that?
Yes. That's the minimum tier membership. There are others, and you can donate additionally.
Oh my god.
I can use that 30 quid to get some burgers. I know which one I'm doing.
Bring on the Big Macs.
Hoorah. To be fair, it's probably going to do a better job than UKIP's going to do. Let's be honest. They had one job, and that was to get us out of Europe, and they still haven't actually done that.
Yeah. How's that going? No, anyway. No, we're going to digress a little too much here. When it comes to YouTubers, though, I mean, I get it. Sometimes you just get stuck in the same thing, right? It's working, so let's do it. Let's do it more. That's how the whole blood sports thing, which I would never call debating to begin with, but that peaked and then burnt the fuck out. I mean, so I think there's still a place for the regular Oxford-style debate, and where you're actually talking and you are arguing, but you're talking to each other and you're getting your points across, and you have a time limit. I think there's still a place for that, and I think there's a place for that on YouTube. I think it needs to make a comeback. What say the panel?
I hate those debates. The reason I say that is just, if you're actually going to try to abide by the rules and stuff like that, is that an actual conversation? If you're at the pub, if you're at church, if you're just out wherever, if you're talking with folks, what do you have? You have a dialogue. Somebody speaks. Then if something comes up that's important and something needs to be discussed or opinions could be asked, you just have a little bit of, you have some good-natured banter. And I think we have a lot of folks that maybe they're trying to go in with good faith, maybe they're trying to give the other person a shot, but a lot of times as soon as somebody touches on some topic, it's just folks go off, whether it's in, what was it, the #1 stream on YouTube at one point. Somebody mentioned a word. Somebody did not take kindly to said word. More words were said. Tones were harshened. And then what went from a discussion on something that, yeah, maybe if a lot of folks don't want to talk about, maybe a lot of folks do want to talk about it. All of a sudden, rather than talking about something, we just have a whole bunch of yelling.
Yeah, well, I definitely think that's the distinction that needs to be made. The distinction between I suppose the distinction between actual debate, civilized debate, like if you want to talk about Oxford-style debate, versus the kind of YouTube blood sports, for instance.
Yeah, well, everyone loves a good dumpster fire.
Yeah, no, everyone loves a dumpster fire, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, blood sports is far different from actual debate. Because when you're having a debate, you actually have to concede your time to the other person, and you have to there's a lot more formality involved.
Well, it more kind of like acting like in good faith, sort of.
I mean, yeah, acting in good faith, and not straw manning your opponent or anything like that. But there's also the fact that there's not a bunch of ad hominems, and there's not a bunch of fuckery that takes place, I suppose. And it seems that when you do talk about debate, for some odd reason, most people envision blood sports.
Well, it's popular because you can do something, and if all of a sudden somebody sees somebody get just pummeled into the ground, just getting verbally beaten and bloodied and stuff to the point where the person has a foot in their throat, and often what happens? you never see them again. They basically kill them on the internet, per se. Sometimes folks come back, sometimes they're resurrected as something else. But here's the thing, man. It's just, I think there's something to giving folks an off-ramp or something. Or if you get a person, if you really do come to that, if you take your foot off their throat, I mean, I think it plays into the whole reciprocal play thing, because there's something about showing mercy to somebody, even if you disagree with them, even if the person may want to kill you. There's something about that that they can't deny.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, the conversations that I had with Owen and ED, I mean, I can, if I wanted to, I could go back and I could talk to them tomorrow and be like, hey, do you guys want to, you know, get together for some kind of debate? And they'd be willing to do that because of, like you said, that kind of reciprocal play. But if you're just sitting there screaming at people, like if you if you devolve into what blood sports was, well, then guess what? You're not going to have those people back on. You know, those people aren't going to want to be on your show. You aren't going to be attracting the new kinds of people, and ultimately that's what killed blood sports. You know, there was I can't remember where it was. It was V and
was it
Arch
JF
Warhammer?
and yes, I remember listening to that.
Yeah. I remember because
I didn't hear the whole thing, but yeah.
Yeah, well, that was the thing that made me realize, yeah, a lot of people keep saying blood sports is going to die, but I don't believe it. But as soon as I saw that and saw the kind of after effects, because, you know, Arch, he was in the enemy's domain, so to speak. You know, he was walking into a debate where the audience wasn't on his side, and, you know, there were two other people that were not on his side in that room, or that hangout, rather, sorry. And, you know, he started getting, I don't want to say harassed, because that's something a 6-year-old girl says in her diary.
The chat was getting spicy.
The chat was getting spicy, exactly. And so, you know, it made him sit down and be like, yeah, so I don't want to ever come back to blood sports. And it's like, okay, that's kind of understandable. If people are just sitting there and shit-talking you constantly, you know, I would never go back to any other show either.
Well, isn't it a matter of like scalability? Because like if you just have like one person and you have like 5 people watching, if one person's doing something, then it's like, all right, if you really need to, you could time somebody out or something. If all they're doing is basically just throwing a whole bunch of profanity just at there, like you can do that. But if you're talking about 1,000 people, 2,000, 10, over 9,000 people watching, then that's. I just try to factor in, well, probably about 20% of the internet is trolls. So as a self-identified troll, like it makes sense to me. It's just, I think folks don't always get when folks are trolling, and yeah, folks get burnt out. Because let's face it, I mean, shit will happen. Some folks will like spam their servers or freaking call them up or make a death threat or do stupid shit like that. And just as you get more and more folks, it can always happen. But statistically, eventually something crazy could happen depending on the situation.
Yeah. Well, it's also a matter of cultivating an audience that isn't shit.
Good point. Talking about that, let's ask Mad. How does he cope with this sort of stuff?
Oh, cope with what? The chat? The chat's usually tamer than the panel. I mean,
That's right.
But no, what I'm thinking though is I was just thinking about, you know, when you walk into what some would call a debate, others would call a discussion. Some people say you're just there to fight. I mean, you need to know what you're walking into ahead of time. And even, you know, like you might go in thinking we're going to have a discussion. That means I don't need to do any prep work, really. I don't really need to have any links open or anything to back anything up, because we're just going to go back and forth and have a discussion. But that's not what a debate is. A debate, you need to be fucking ready. You need to have cite sources, because you're going to be asked. Because that's an easy gotcha. You're like, oh, well, did you pull that percentage out of your ass? What's your source? Oh, I don't remember. Oh, so you did pull it out of your ass. I mean, so I think the terms of the show need to be set in stone ahead of time, don't you guys?
So basically some form of a structure, because I know like some folks, like I understand you're talking about basically reviewing sources, having links available and stuff, but what happens when it's more of a situation? It's like, yeah, we're just going to have like a chat and stuff like that. And then maybe like right before you're getting ready to hit live, be like, yeah, no, hey, if you want to just like bring up some tabs or something like that, or you're just actively bringing up during the chat. So like if you go there and you think of something, dude, it's not like back in the day. It's like we actually have the internet. If you're sitting at your computer and you're curious about something, why not do some research? Doesn't that help make us all smarter because we can learn something else?
Well, that's a fair point. But what I'm saying though is, if you're not ready at all, like, okay, you're trying to bring somebody like, let's say, Snub. Let's say I'm trying to get him on the Redeye, and I want to. I tell him we're just gonna have a talk, man. No real topics. We're just gonna have a conversation. And then he gets on the show, and I go, "Oh, so why do you want an ethno state? This is why it's bad. This. I turn it into a debate. Well, that's a trap, right? He just walked. You were disingenuous from the start.
Well, I mean, it might depend on what it is. Like if you say something completely like out there in like left field, it's like, all right, hey, that's something. But what happens if it's something simpler? Like something's like you make a statement and you could just be like, well, I disagree with that. Kind of like if George Washington's teeth were made of wood or people's teeth or hippopotamus ivory. No, I mean, I learned something. I didn't know his teeth were made of hippopotamus ivory.
Fair enough, and that's another problem I see with some of the debate tactics. Let's just nitpick one thing to death for an hour and then say we won, and it goes on both sides, and I think that's a little ridiculous.
Well, it's been what's worked in the past.
I don't know if it could be classified as something that has worked in the past, to be honest. I mean, because I would classify it as something that just happens. If you're talking about two people sitting down to debate about, I don't know, people's teeth, then one side is going to say, "Oh, we beat those guys so good," and then the other side's going to say, "Oh, we beat those guys so good." But I mean, no real progress was actually made. No one. There's no discernible winner. You couldn't make the other person concede any kind of point or something along those lines. I mean, it's just people saying we won. It's nothing really.
It's less about vocally saying, "Oh, I won," and this person was wrong and this person was right. It's more about the people that don't comment, that watch, and their minds are swayed. That is the real value of a debate. It's not necessarily the people involved.
Yeah, because the people involved typically already have their minds made up.
Exactly. It's the people that are watching that are more important. But getting stuck on
how
the,
long is it going to take before we can get 40 to do an interview with Snub Nub?
I don't care. I'll do one tomorrow. Although I'm going to tell you right now,
all his information is listed. He's usually better on the weekends, though. He works during the week.
Mm. Yeah.
Well, there you go, 40. I don't think he'll come on my channel after I, won that little bet on who can get banned from the chat quicker. So I think I burnt that bridge.
And well, to be fair, I mean, I think he kind of recognizes that, and I kind of gave you a shout out the other night on there because I had mentioned, and you were just talking about, it was actually about like the system, man, and like how like the system where even if you go out and you start benefiting yourself, then all of a sudden whatever the system's giving you is taken away. So I was citing you as like an example of like a source, and I related my own source as well, where it's like, all right, hey, I found a job. How much I'm going to make? I make more on unemployment. Plus, I'm going to have to commute like an hour each way using a V8 Explorer. I'm like, this doesn't make sense at all for me to take this job. And it shouldn't be that way. We should be able to encourage work. We should encourage folks to actually like be able to like save up, put it like a down payment on like an apartment or God willing, a piece of property or something. Just because like if you incentivize folks to do that, then guess what? Hey, if you know your benefits are going to be coming maybe at a declining rate, so you can actually like save up and like get past zero. Because here's the thing, if you're starting at zero, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, it's like, dude, like that was kind of one of the issues I had with what Dave Rubin says. Like, if you don't like what's going on, move to another state, move somewhere else. It's like, not everybody always has that ability. Maybe their kids in school. It's like, we each have our own unique life experience. So like, this is tough, man, but I think we can figure it out.
Well, one of the best ways to be able to incentivize people to save up for buying is to stop having an economy that's fueled entirely by debt, which is the economy we have right now. It is an economy that is fueled entirely off of the assumption that everybody pays their debts on time and that everybody has to have debt for the economy to work.
Let's not unwind that, because I started unwinding that on a video with Captain and Welshmere Stories about the $1 trillion coin and paying off the debt, and we actually started looking at the global debt, and it's I don't want to talk about it.
Well, it's even worse if you look at the 5 major global banks and what they do to countries that actually do pay off their debt. It's even worse.
Do tell.
What?
Do tell. What happens?
They get attacked by the UN?
Seriously, god damn.
Well, when did Putin suddenly become a bad guy?
Shit, good point.
When he hacked to Hillary's servers?
No.
When he paid off the federal deficit that his country had to those 5 major global banks. And he told them, yeah, ciao, chief, we're going to use our own money system here. And
then he funded BRICS. Yeah.
Yeah. And then suddenly he was the worst man on the planet and Russia needed to burn. It was the new media paradigm.
Wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
I always thought it was just the whole John McCain. When I look at Vladimir Putin, I just see KGB. Because everybody, we all know that for any nation to elect basically a spy, imagine like the UK having just a well-known, famous spy as its leader. They would never do that.
No, because George Bush Sr. wasn't head of the CIA, right?
Nope.
Oh, I just like James Bond.
I do too, but
let's be honest, people. If James Bond was going for leadership of your country, you would vote for him, wouldn't you?
Fuck no.
Fuck yeah. Well, as long as he's a U.S. citizen.
Fuck maybe. I don't know.
Not if he's one of the newer James Bonds, maybe one of the older ones.
No, Sean Connery for the win. I know Jensen may take issue with that.
Yeah, because then he'd just slap Hillary around like a stupid bitch and she'd shut up.
Maybe she would have waken up. That's the thing, dude. I'm starting to believe more and more Hillary was just getting bad advice, because she is actually known to be like a smart woman. And I think she just was like, well, everyone around me knows what we're doing, and that's fine. And they didn't factor in like Donald Trump.
No. This is a woman who taunted a 14-year-old girl outside of the courtroom after she won a case against this girl accusing a man of raping her.
Wasn't she like making a joke over like a very grim thing?
No, she was taunting the girl.
She said it to her?
She said it in the public eye in front of the press after she won the case.
Oh, I thought just a few folks overheard it, but
I was under the impression it was through a press release. I have no idea. I didn't pay that much attention because
I do remember her having said something like that. But I thought it was like she was like, "Oh, I just won against a case against the guy that actually I know had committed this, but I was doing my job to." Basically, she kind of tried to chuckle it off, and it's just, could you go? Absolutely, no, you could do that, but it's that point if you want to be technically intellectual honest, anybody that was on that stream when they were making fun of, what was that guy, the skeptic fan, he did the debate between was it Sargon and Christy Winters, and from what I saw, he did a fairly good job of moderating. I'm just saying mean words were said, so I mean
tell me Sargon didn't get his ass beat by fucking
Sargon
Fisty.
Can't debate. Sargon cannot
So yes,
debate.
Fisty won.
I don't know. I never watched the debate. I don't care enough about what Sargon says anymore to watch what he does.
To be fair, Sargon's thing, I thought it was kind of like, he's a bright dude, but I thought he was quite witty at times, and folks liked that. Like he was good at trolling people.
Yeah, but that doesn't work well when you're debating.
Oh, well then you need like tag team debates.
Yeah, or you need somebody like Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, but he talks really fast.
I don't have a hard time understanding him, but I'm from California. So.
No, I get what he says, but it's like, yes, you're explaining arguments extremely quickly, Ben. That's very fine. Not everybody is going at that particular speed at that given time. It's like, dude, you can communicate the same thing, just, I don't know, like 6 words. It's like, oh, we need to reduce the deficit. But it's like, owing people money ain't good.
Trade deficits are bad, man. Most people know that, yeah.
Well, was he a telemarketer before or something? Because when I was a telemarketer, they kind of teach you how to talk really fast to get your pitch out before you get the phone hung up on you.
No, he's just like 3rd or 4th generation lawyer. So, like, there's a lot of lawyers in the family. I think even his father talks really fast.
Hey, let's not hate on all lawyers. Hashtag not all.
I wasn't hating on lawyers. I was saying that they tend to be pretty driven to spit shit out as quickly as possible.
Well, it's in their self-interest.
Yeah.
So, what do you think also about, has YouTube gone a bit stale, like Rat had said? Because that was Rat's, when he did a video, he was saying, you know, I don't even watch Sargon that much anymore. Even Styx is just repeating himself all the time. What do you guys think about that? Are the political commentators and social commentators just repeating themselves at this point?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Even I am in some way, even though I only have like 9 videos. Yeah.
What can we do to fix that?
There's nothing to do, because you have the same retards beating the same retarded broken drum, and all you can do is respond with the same retarded response every fucking time. It's the only way to really, it's like having a kid that won't listen and you have to repeat yourself like 19 times, you turn into a broken record. There's no other way to do it. I mean, sure, you can change up the way you say it, but you're still going to have to say the same stuff over and over again. The problem with Sargon isn't necessarily what he's saying. It's that he's already put his foot in his mouth too many times and people are just getting kind of bored of listening to him. Mm-hmm. Bearing's viewership isn't down.
Yeah, it's this weird combination of, because I mean, to some degree, you could call them. I don't know if propagandists is the correct word to use, but I mean, these are people that have a message to deliver, and they're going to deliver it to as many people as humanly possible. And in doing that, they're bound to repeat themselves, 100, 200, 300, 1,000 times, as Sargon has.
Well, that's all political activism.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's, admittedly, if that's his goal, he's doing a very good job at it. He's one of the very few political activists on YouTube that has, what is he sitting at, like 700,000 or something subs, I think.
Yeah,
it's a little over 800.
Oh, a little over 800. So yeah, he's doing pretty damn decent on YouTube, I'd say.
Well, yeah, but it's stagnated. He's at about 800,000 for 3 years now. So it's not like he's increasing his reach.
I think that's kind of why he's trying to increase his reach by doing actual in real life events, and he's doing fairly well. He's not selling out the Staples Center, but he's selling out whatever small venue he happens to go to.
Oh, he came by the Patriot Day rally over in Concord, Massachusetts. I mean, we probably had about 60 folks out there, like, in support of like the First Amendment. I mean, it was pretty. I mean, it was also hailing, and they actually canceled the actual reenactment on Patriots Day because the weather was so bad. But it had changed over to icy rain. It was wet, so he stayed. I think through when I had words at the mic there and Dr. Shiva. But other than that, man, he just, I don't know. He did leave halfway through.
You were a speaker there?
Yeah, it was open. Dude, it was free speech. It was open mic. You could say whatever the hell you wanted.
Oh, damn. Nice. That's cool.
Did you talk about wizards?
Wizards.
I messed up on the wizard meme.
Okay.
That sucks. What was I going to say? They have the same message to deliver over and over again, and if that's their, if that's how they make it, then they're doing a good job. But the other thing is that a lot of these people on YouTube have a very narrow scope of what they define as political principles. A lot of people on YouTube just stand for a very few select things. So someone like Count Dankula, for instance, is all about free speech, and that's really all he talks about. I mean, it's not the only thing he talks about. He also trolls people a little bit, and he's a meme master. But a lot of people have these very specific segments that they stick to. They have a shtick. You know, Richard Spencer
some folks
is
are really good at editing, and
yeah. I mean, Richard Spencer is he wants an ethno state. You know, and some people just want to fuck around, and some people are for this, some people are for that, but they never really expand past that. And eventually, that's why channels die. I mean, look at a lot of the bedroom feminists. You know, a girl sitting down in her bedroom and she's going on about, well, feminism helps me because of X, Y, and Z. All those channels are gone. They died out because they had the same repetitive message and they were literally preaching it 24/7.
Well, and the message is very unpopular at this point.
Yeah, that's true. And you're also seeing a lot of anti-SJW channels start to die out. You know, and the only ones that have survived are the ones that have branched out.
It's almost kind of like a food chain. It's like, all right, what are you making your meat and potatoes on? I'm making my meat and potatoes by kind of going after these folks. All right, their population decreases. There's not as much meat and potatoes. Oh, crap, I start dying off. And it just... Dude, I mean, it goes through cycles. It's like economics too. I mean, this happens with different companies, different industries. Dude, I remember the Atkins diet killed Krispy Kreme, and they just expanded down into Medford. Dude, I would drive freaking 45 minutes to see that sign come on and get a free glazed donut. So good.
Yeah, I will blow my diet and upset my stomach to have a Krispy Kreme. I don't care. I will.
I haven't had Krispy Kreme in a while.
Well, how do we do sustainability then? Like, so like what do we need? Because it seems like a lot of folks have different skills. Like Sargon happens to be quite a witty foe. Like you said, Richard Spencer is good at Richard Spencering, and everyone has different skills. So I'm of the mind that, well, if folks have different skills, that kind of reminds me of like going into an instance back in like the World of Warcraft days. Like if you didn't have a tank, you were probably going to die. If you didn't have a healer, you're probably going to die. At some points, can you get past that if you're power leveled enough and Jack and just go all DPS? That's fine. But dude, I was literally thinking earlier, 40, when you were saying it's like, all right, so-and-so's kind of good at this while doing this. Dude, I'm thinking of the priest healing the party up while throwing a couple like Shadow Word pains on mobs.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a decent way of thinking about it. And I mean that's one of the reasons that I enjoy hanging out with you guys. Is that it's not a group of people sitting there and stroking their dicks and, you know, all just kind of agreeing on one thing for an hour or two every, you know, once a week or whatever the case might be. You know, there is actually discussions to be had, and there are arguments to be won or to be lost or whatever the case might be. You know, and that's what a lot of people are looking for. A lot of these channels that just have one message to deliver, they end up dying out.
Well, it's just like any business. You can't be myopic unless you're doing something like heart surgery, which is going to be mandatory for a group of people over time.
Yeah.
But politics is very fluid. It never has been static. I mean, even when we had completely buttoned down, you know, Gutenberg-style press, politics was still dynamic and fluid. All we're seeing now is how it works on the macro level, real time, with no recuperation space, because it's a 24-hour media circuit or news circuit now. Mm-hmm. And it's just, how do you adapt to that? You know, if you think about it in terms of the market or the marketplace of ideas, you're working at the individual level rather than at a macro or a group level when it comes to politics. You know, despite what people want to say about how politics works, it really boils down to how you appeal to each and every individual that's going to vote. Mm-hmm. And you have to figure out how to adapt that to being online and what your gimmick is that's going to help you sell.
Well, I thought politics was pretty much just that. It was a game of saying things to offend as few people as possible, going hard on a few folks that people dislike, and then just kind of wishy-washing everything else.
Only if you're a Democrat or an establishment Republican.
So
the rest of politics is
different?
messy because they're groupthings. They're monoliths within themselves because they have a certain amount of power they're interested in keeping. The rest of the world, the rest of America in this example, they aren't going to work with the groupthink because groupthink doesn't work. The only people that it works for are those that are interested in maintaining power. Well, the small people aren't going to want to maintain power, are they?
Well,
Or they aren't going to want them to maintain the power, I should say.
No, that's a very valid point, because again, like if I get it, like if folks are going to tend to act in their self-interest, and you actually brought up something earlier about like the folks watching videos, and at some point, what was it, a wise man, I think it was Destiny, once said before his Sargon debate and stuff, the very beginning of his stream, because I listened to Sargon's version, I listened to his version, the beginning and the end. He's like, here's what I predict what's going to happen. All my folks that like me are going to think I won. All Sargon's folks that like him thinks he's going to win. They went through the 2-hour debate. He ended it, and he asked the chat, and he's like, yeah, so it's exactly like I thought. So it kind of is a bit of like my side versus your side, my team versus your team. And when you were talking about like what the folks watching think, that's one of the things that I've observed that's very interesting. Let's say you have a viral video, gets 100,000 views. You'll see like 20,000 likes, 5,000 comments. My question is, what's going on with the 75 to 80,000 people that watched the video but didn't interact with it, that may not have been logged in? I'm curious about those folks.
Well, it's just quite assimilation of information. You know, the vast majority of people that take in information don't vociferously discuss it after they do so. They usually take it in, digest it, and let it build into whatever paradigm they're creating mentally.
Well, and I would say that would be the silent majority that they were talking about that came out in Britain, you know, for Brexit. Because everybody thought, or that came out for Trump. Yeah, the same thing. You know, everybody thought the other side was going to win because that's what all the vocal people were saying. And then it turned out the people that were silent, they just went and voted, and they voted their conscience. You know, media be damned.
Well, you know, I have to say, this time around with Trump and Hillary, the media was really bad at maths. Because if you looked at the polls from, you know, the summer of 2014 up through the election, Hillary was slipping at least 2 points a month. It was pretty obvious to anybody who was watching the polls and watching the numbers and had a way to remember numbers that Hillary was not going to win. I was pretty sure she wasn't going to win by the time election day came up. But nobody listened to me. It's just like with Reagan's shock win back in, you know, what, 82? 80?
Well, folks don't want to be wrong. And this was another thing that I noticed. And even some of the folks that pushed the quote-unquote proverbial envelope, what was it? I think it was harmful opinions or something. I remember when he was having a chat with Sargon, and he was asking some questions. At one point, Sargon started to get heated, and he thought he was being trapped. He's like, I'm asking you a question. Because Sargon thought he was going at him from that angle, whereas he was simply asking a question based upon his life experience and perspective. Maybe he was trolling him. I don't know. But it's just that thing where even if you go into have like a pleasant conversation, you have situations like that. And I remember even harmful at one point, somebody said, I think it was V said, and again, I can't verify, but harmful at one point when folks were going after him for like calling out some of those sponsors and stuff, like he even asked, well, what does everyone think? So we all care at some point. We're curious what other people think.
Yes. I think where Sargon went wrong is he started to believe his own hype.
Yeah, you have to stay grounded in your own real reality, not the internet politics and, you know, the social media aspect of it. But we all are on YouTube because we want our voices heard. And we all are a bit narcissistic. I mean, or else we wouldn't be on YouTube, all right? We would be the ones watching the videos and not even commenting. Am I wrong? Or
our power level rises with each subscriber.
Our concept of our power level rises. I can't say that our actual power levels rise. I mean, if Sargon's teaching us anything, it's that, I mean, if Sargon's teaching us anything, it's that the influence our friends tell us is never the actual influence we have. I mean, I think people learned that from Hillary this past election as well.
I learned what an ad hominem attack was from Sargon.
You guys are acting like white niggers.
Oh God! And to be fair, I actually motorcycle. I learned what the story of the ship of Theseus was from Coach Red Pill, and at a Harvard symposium or one of the Harvard Club's events, they had a very smart dude from the New York Times there. He asked a room full of 150 people if they had heard the tale. Only one person raised their hand.
The ship of Theseus? You?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I've heard of this.
yeah, no, so you're familiar. It's just a lot of folks aren't aware, and those were really smart folks that were in there.
Oh, they forgot high school mythology course?
Or maybe they didn't listen to Coach Red Bill.
I don't listen to Coach Red Bill.
Yeah, I don't listen to fucking Coach Red Pill. Jesus Christ.
I don't really care what Coach Red Pill has to say. He's an old guy Spurg with a receding hairline as far as I'm concerned.
You know what? Hey, Professor Peterson harps on this. One of his rules is assume that the person you're engaging with, you might have the ability to learn something. And I think there's something to that.
Well, yeah.
And I just want to say bald lives matter, damn it. No. I'm just kidding.
Don't worry. Shaved head men are very attractive to most women. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that he looks like he has a low T count because he gets angry like a girl.
Hey. As long as there's a ball pit involved, all in good fun.
Unless Coach Red Pill is there and pissing in the ball pit, which it kind of looks like he did the last time he did a debate I saw.
He said stupid shit. He apologized. He did make a statement. He said what he did was childish and immature. Hey, gotta give a guy a little bit of credit for actually admitting when you're wrong.
Yeah,
A good portion of what he says is bullshit.
I was gonna say, and when you're trying to justify ethical doxing, revenge doxing as ethical, I'm gonna stop listening to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, oh gosh, it's not even that for me. It's the fact that he just, I don't know, he talks in all these moral ambiguities that literally just don't make any kind of sense when you try and deconstruct them. He just talks about like dumb shit. He'll say things that sound smart on the surface, but when you actually look at him, I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, who's his target audience?
Gullible dickheads.
Oh, I thought it was his son.
I thought it was the alt-right.
Maybe it's all of them. I don't know.
Don't fuck. I don't know, man. Whoever's audience is, fucking I'm sorry.
Well, you know what YouTube channel I've been watching a lot more lately, and they're not really going stagnant. Golf City. The cartoons are fucking hilarious. The live streams are pretty fucking good. I really am a big fan of theirs now.
Me too.
I think there's something to that. It's like, what are you doing? Blood sports. What is that? It's like, all right, you got a couple of folks getting in a fight after getting hammered in a bar. It's like, all right, you can see that. But if you want to have an actual, just highly intellectual debate, that'd kind of be more of like a Jordan Peterson or a Sam Harris, or basically, I think folks kind of get the gist of what I'm trying to communicate here. That's more of mixed mental arts. That's more of kind of like getting into the octagon. I think a lot of folks enjoy that, but I think there is somewhere in between, kind of like more like the professional wrestling aspect of it, where you can kind of you can kind of go at each other a bit, beat each other up, but you're not intending to necessarily end someone's career.
So what are you saying about tombstones then?
I want pepperoni and sausage on my tombstone.
Well, as long as you're supporting Domino's, they're actually fixing the damn roads.
I like pizza.
I fucking swear, I knew you were going to bring that up at some point. I was waiting for that.
I don't like Domino's. Domino's is nasty.
No, but they could fix the pothole pretty good.
With the pizzas.
Hashtag not all.
How you doing, MC? I saw you were in the chat. What do you think about the topic of today?
We're pretty much just gossiping.
It's fun.
It is sometimes.
I don't know. There's a lot technically that you can unpack with that, to be honest. I'm not so sanguine to say that these things are going to change the way people think that they are. As far as blood sports and everything goes, people are going to gravitate toward drama regardless, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true. And to be honest, I definitely do think that people did gravitate towards it. But I mean, what happens when the drama kind of spills over to the point where people are actually suffering some kind of kickback? You know, when people start getting calls on their actual cell phones, and people start contacting each other's parents and threatening them, you know, which is what has happened before in the past with blood sports, well, then no one's going to want to participate, and thus you have no drama.
Real quick, 40, I agree with you, and I think the difference here is what Memes was saying about the professional wrestling aspect. A lot of people don't get it. Those guys are all fucking friends. They're pretty much family. They travel everywhere together. So when you have, like, I'm old school, so let's say Bret Hart and Undertaker. Okay, they have this big, long story arc for half a year coming up to WrestleMania where they fucking hate each other. They're still drinking a beer afterwards. But the blood sports didn't do that. They actually made enemies. They didn't, talk ahead of time. All right, you're the face, you're the heel. We're probably going to fucking make fun of you real bad, but next time we'll switch it up and let you win a debate. He didn't rig it, and that's why professional wrestling works. It's rigged.
I mean, I don't even. I mean, yeah, to some
pro
degree,
wrestling is real.
I mean,
it is real, but it is rigged.
There's a dance. There's a certain choreograph to the dance. That is true. But it's still a dance, and...
Are the matches called ahead of time? Yes. Okay, that's what I'm saying, is they needed to really kind of go with the professional wrestling aspect, because that's really what they were aiming for, and they didn't. If you're going into a real debate, it's not rigged. You're really fucking arguing. And that's what they did, and it spilt over into real life and fucking shit the bed.
Well, I think a lot of that is because, quite frankly, there are too many children. All right? And what I mean by that is people aren't acting like adults. You know, they were reacting to certain things, but they themselves were not acting like what an adult should be acting like. They had forgotten to the point where they didn't know what acting like an adult was like, right? And I realize I'm not saying this well, right? But and I'm not sure how better to say this, but you learn certain social cues, certain social actions, all right, and how to interact, how to deal with adversity, for lack of a better term, right? But you didn't have that. Many of these people have never had that. They've never gone through that. They've only, perceived it from a narrow perspective per se, right?
Yeah, no, it's kind of like there's a difference between you're messing around, you get somebody down and you go and you drop the people's elbow real quick versus just coming up against somebody that literally just turned around and actually smacking them as hard as you can with a steel chair.
Right.
But
I think we've been using a lot of steel chairs.
Wow. And razor blades on the palm of the hand. I think the difference between internet blood sports and things like pro wrestling is not just the fact that everything wasn't rigged beforehand. It's the fact that you're taking real people and you're letting them dish out their anger towards each other in a fairly public forum. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what creates the allure for people to watch, is that they know it's actually real drama.
But Tema, I mean, it's not like somebody would say something when they're in front of a live audience and say something different in private.
Mm-hmm.
No, for the most part, I guess that's true.
I mean, that would never happen. So
no, that would never happen. I mean, there are exceptions to that, but not many.
Also, one of the other things is that typically when you do have some kind of actual formalized debate going on, there is that sense of mutual respect, right? Everyone can walk away from that with a clean conscience. It doesn't matter if you won or if you lost or whatever the case might be. You can walk away and you could still hypothetically talk to that person in the future and everything will be fine. But with blood sports, you don't get that. You know, it's just someone's throat. Two people go in and one person comes out. You know, someone ain't coming back to the internet, and that's the whole premise surrounding blood sports. That's why it doesn't work, because eventually people just aren't going to want to have contact with that kind of form of entertainment.
People aren't going to ask you back to play again.
Yeah.
To an extent, I think really what killed blood sports was doxing and people taking internet bans too seriously personally. I think that's probably what killed internet blood sports faster than anything else, was people taking it personally. It's the internet.
Yeah. Well, and did you by chance catch one of Tonka Saw's last streams?
What do you mean by last streams? Like recently he's done a stream? Because I haven't had time in the mornings when he's on to watch.
Well, funny you should ask that. Because he like quote unquote quit the internet.
He does that all the time.
Apparently this time it's for good, although we'll see. And he actually hasn't been back on for a while. One of the things that happened was that they were having serious problems booking people for blood sports, because you know, like just like you were saying, and just like everyone really has been saying, it's a toxic environment. It's a hostile environment, and no one wants to step into that. You know, if you're going in there with an opponent that hates you to the point where they're probably going to dox you, well, you're not gonna want to partake in that. And so it got to the point where they literally couldn't book lineups anymore. They couldn't, you know, even though people had beef, people had problems, they didn't want to go out onto the Kumite and actually have those fights. And so that's what killed blood sports was the doxing and the lack of respect and all that other stuff. You know, that's why formalized debates will, although it's a niche space, they'll always have a place.
Well, what formalized debate also does is it gives you intellectual street cred when it comes to political shit talking.
Mm-hmm.
And blood sports doesn't give you that intellectual street cred. That just gives you your snarky street cred, for lack of a better way to put it.
Well, wasn't that how Ben Shapiro kind of got started? He went on to like Piers Morgan, and he just kind of just laid out the fact after fact after fact, A, B, C, D through however, I don't know. He can count really fast.
Well, actually, he did that with Larry King when he was like a teenager still.
Oh,
that's where he got his real start. Yeah.
Really?
Oh. He called into Larry King when he was, I don't know, 17, something like that. And he just kind of wailed on Larry King.
Well, that's me.
I
like Larry King.
I really want to see that now. That sounds funny.
God, where did it was on
it's probably on
one
YouTube
of those
somewhere.
exposés. Yeah, it was one of those exposés on Ben Shapiro when he first hit the college political talk circuit.
Huh.
2015 when he got real big.
That's hilarious.
Well, the thing about formalized debates is a lot of it will depend on how it's moderated. All right, and you have to understand how to deal with how it's being moderated, and you have to be able to react from that standpoint. All right, and so when they start talking about a subject, okay, how is this being perceived? How is it being moderated? What's the intent of the moderator? In what direction do they normally go? When you start talking about colleges, in some ways, getting ready for a debate on a college campus is actually fairly easy. And the reason for that is because you already have an idea before even going in there how they're going to moderate it and what kind of tactics your opponents are going to attempt to use. All right, because they tend to be very sophomoric. All right, this is and if you take a look at it, the one thing you don't see on these college campuses is you do not see professional reporters or things like that moderating or talking about these things. Now, why is that important? Well, take a look at the difference between how Romney's debate went. All right, against Barack Obama, where he would make comments and the moderator all right, would basically lie and say that isn't true. They would insert themselves to protect the other person moderating. Where in a college campus you don't have that. So part of the thing is when you have a debate, you have to understand, okay, is it a debate or is it an argument? All right. As long as you can keep it in a debate format, in a debate type of a style, then you're okay. But if it devolves like we see on the internet here, it devolves into arguments. Some people will listen, some people won't. Some people will take it personally, some people won't. And you don't know the other person, right? You don't talk to the other person generally enough to get a feel for, are they taking this personally or aren't they? And that's what I meant by maturity. That's what I meant by some of the other things that I was stating earlier. The maturity level between a lot of people, this is a young audience and it's a young group of people. The maturity level isn't the same. It isn't as high as it is for when you're to be able to apply yourself and remember that the other person that you're talking to is not just a voiceless, box. All right. It's an actual human being.
Well, okay. I don't know if it's necessarily an age-related thing as per maturity in modern society. I think with the lack of adversity that comes with living in, a first world civilization like the West, you're going to see some arrested development. I mean, just look at how old is considered the proper age to get married, as opposed to it was 35 years ago. We're experiencing arrested development across the board in human interaction within civilized culture. So I think yes and no, it is an age-related maturity, but it's also a societal maturity, for lack of a better way to describe it, because people have less need to grow up as quickly as they used to. I mean, a lot of times, 30 is the new 20 for a lot of people. They're just starting out at 30. They're able to get their first place and stuff like that now. So I think when we talk about maturity, it's all very subjective based on how society works now.
I agree with you, but I think that a lot of that is intentional as well. I think that that's been pushed on people to keep them as infantile as possible because they're so easy to manipulate then. The more childish people act, the more easy it is for them to be manipulated.
Well, that's what's so insipid and insidious about our public education system. Is because it's taken the ability to critically think and replaced it with critical theory, where you just complain about how something is perfect.
Well, I do have to take a slight issue with that, MC, on the basis that, I mean, I think kids are some of the most honest folks you'll ever talk to because they haven't necessarily been through that yet, up until a certain point.
Are you freaking kidding me? Honest?
Well, at what point? Before
the problem with this right now is I'm not seeing honesty. I don't even see a commitment to honesty. Are you kidding me?
So you're seeing disingenuousness.
You see disingenuousness all the time around here. You see it on Twitter all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, some of it's being disingenuous, and they don't even. They're so wrapped up in themselves, they don't even realize how disingenuous they're actually being.
Well, but if you're saying what everyone else is saying, then I mean, you're kind of just going with the flow.
Okay, so you're not thinking about system. You're just a regurgitating frickin' pablum. How does that make you honest?
I didn't say that. I'm just.
You just said that they're more honest. You just said that they're.
I said children. Children before you basically explain stuff. Like if a kid just asks you, it's like, what's that? That's a cloud. Oh, why is it a cloud? I don't know. A bunch of water evaporated.
Asking about things? Are they really interested in learning?
Well, I don't have any kids. I can't attest to that. I've had nephews and stuff like that have asked all different types of questions. They seem curious.
Well, they seem curious. I'm talking about people on the internet. That's what we're referring to, right?
Well I just didn't like you. The characterization of children, I think you're kind of going more like the emotional response rather than necessarily thinking it through, like you said, basically considering this is another human being with their own unique life experience on the other end of this rather than just, some dragon avatar.
We're talking within the context, we're talking within the context of the internet and the internet sphere, right?
Sure.
Okay, so when I say children, I'm talking about how people are acting, obviously on the internet. I'm not talking about actual children. Although I would agree with Tamara in that the people are not growing up enough. People are being treated like children when they're 15, 16, 17 years old rather than young adults, and they're not acting like adults. They're acting like children as a result.
Yeah. Well, I think that also kind of plays into the fact that when you have an opinion, again, sticking to within the realm of the internet, when you have an opinion and that opinion is not viewed as correct by, I don't even know, it's not viewed as correct by society, or it's just like a genuinely autistic opinion, you don't necessarily suffer any societal repercussion for holding that opinion.
Unless you're doxxed.
Unless you're doxxed. Because, you could just be some pleb up on Twitter with a furry avatar. No one's gonna, yeah, you could have, 1,000, 2,000 followers or something like that, or friends, or whatever it's called. And you can tweet about how you don't like group X, Y, and Z, or you don't like this, or the damn capitalist pigs, or whatever the case might be. But you're not held to any standard. And there's really not any room for you to actually grow and to challenge yourself if you can just be this anonymous person and not have any repercussions and not have people challenge you. And to some degree, it starts to develop like a lack of conviction, I suppose.
Well,
something that feeds into that immaturity.
Well, that's a lack of the ability to adapt. That comes from a lack of adversity. Without some sort of adversity in your life, you won't figure out how to adapt. Mm-hmm. That's just how we learn as humans. That's wired into what we are. And I think that's part of what we're witnessing going on with the internet as we see it in modern culture and stuff, is that we haven't had enough actual adversity. So people are coming up with, mythical adversity to try to create that sense of adaptation that people need to feel like they're regularly human.
Everybody loves a good story.
I think it's they're trying to come back with a solution of, look, I matter. Look, I care. Therefore I matter. I'm doing good. I have to matter in the world. They can't develop a sense of, one of the hardest things. One of the biggest transitions that people that when they mature make is the fact that they can provide their own answers to who I am and what do I want. Where am I going with this? Why am I here? All right. Now, sometimes those answers aren't good. All right. But generally, people will begin to make those answers and exist on their own. There were always the crowd that I got to find myself and I got to walk off and do a walkabout somewhere, right? Which became a very popular term. Now, you laugh, all right, but this became a very popular term.
It led to an entire generation of children that were underparented.
Yes,
the entirety of the latchkey generation is yuppies that decided they were going to go out and follow themselves and forgot that they were fucking parents too.
Well, and I laugh, but I mean that kind of sounds like every millennial commercial. Go find yourself.
Well, they're echo boomers. They are the exact same as the baby boomers.
Well, are some of these walks magical journeys?
Only if they take a lot of peyote and quaaludes and call themselves Running Stick Boy. I don't know.
Yeah,
well, think of the movie. Think how that played into this, right? Legends of the Fall is one of the biggest examples. Now, I don't know how many of you guys have seen Legends of the Fall, right?
I haven't.
But the whole premise of that thing was basically, he's just got to find himself, right? And it was that kind of pablum that was constantly being pushed, right? And then on top of that, they overlaid it that you became an adult once you had sex. That all of a sudden, this mystical thing happened, and because you had sex, you're now an adult, and people should automatically listen to you because you've had sex. And this has always been the furthest thing from the truth.
I wish, dude. I'd just never have sex. Bam, not an adult.
Responsibility gone.
This is like,
isn't there something to be said about like the loss of innocence? Because I remember a gentleman I worked with at one point. He happened to be an attorney. At one point, he was actually dead. 4 shots of Narcan later, they brought him back. but he was telling me about this thing called, I believe it was the loss of innocence. And what it was is basically, from what I could tell from how he described it, is basically getting out there, facing adversity, basically growing up earlier kind of helps set some of your framework for your life, and you'll be able to encounter more challenges. It's kind of like power leveling. Actually, my experience would be, it's kind of like in Final Fantasy VIII. If on said first disc, you grind enough and you play those card games right, you can actually get the Lionheart Gunblade before the end of it.
Yeah.
And then it just makes the game easy mode. So basically kind of like how I relate that is, if you put in the time, it was also very boring.
Okay, you're talking about basically the equivalent of going to college.
Well, they did go to Garden.
But yeah, I know. But I'm saying you're talking about Final Fantasy VIII in terms of basically going to college, where you have to do this really obnoxious grind, and you have to deal with all this stupid shit you have to regurgitate, which has absolutely fucking nothing to do with your degree. Because really, I don't need to know anthropology to be able to use a telescope. But I still had to take anthropology to be able to use my fucking telescope. So you have to do that grind. That's called determining value for your actions, or actuating, what's the word I'm looking for? Actuating potential. It's part of learning, but it's something that we don't encourage people to do anymore because we've made too many movies with motherfucking montages.
I just want to say Hitler did nothing wrong in terms of the German education system.
Well, no, and I don't even think it has to do with movie culture. I think it's the society that we created, around our kids, where they can't even go to the park by themselves anymore. And you give every kid from every team a fucking trophy, no matter if they lost or won. I mean, you're coddling these people and turning them into 30-year-old children. I mean, because I was on my own at 16. I was never coddled. I had to fucking fight for everything I got. And so, I don't know. I think it's the coddled generation.
Oh yeah, we're all told we're special, and that everybody gets goddamn gold star, or they get an affirmation that they're so special because they exist. Fuck you! You're not going to be special because you exist. Having a set of DNA does not make you more important than somebody else, or it doesn't make you earn accolades. You have to fucking do something with the set of DNA you've been given in order for it to fucking
stars.
Only if they're pasties.
Gold stars?
Yeah.
Work at McDonald's then.
What? No, like Super Mario. Because once you hit the gold star, you destroy enough enemies, you start getting ones ups. And once you overcome one enemy, the next enemy becomes easier and easier and easier. And exponentially
I need the invincibility star. Screw that.
Memes, you're demonstrating exactly what's been talked about this evening. The intellectual and emotional retardation of people. The only way you can relate to things is by attaching a game to it.
Hashtag gamer theory.
I'll be honest with you. When you said gold star, the first thing I thought of was gold star parents. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about initially?
Oh shit! I'm sorry, MC.
And I realize that's an age thing. I realize that I'm not into the kind of gaming things. No. But it shows you a different reference point that I was approaching things from. Which is why I mentioned it.
Yeah.
All right. And that becomes another aspect of all this as well. The one good thing about the internet, the one real good thing is you can meet people from all over, not just your country, but all over the world. And you can engage with them. All right. But you have to have
reference points, shared reference points, if you're ever going to understand each other.
Right.
Do you say, what was the thing that was said? That even if you were to become a lion, if a lion could be taught to speak, nobody would understand what it was saying because we would have no frame of reference as to what was important or what was relevant to a lion. So you can make it speak all you like, but it's just going to talk. It'll sound like gibberish because we do not understand how the lion thinks.
I think it would be hungry.
Well, depends if it had just eaten.
That's very fair. No, Cabby, and you and MC actually just bring up some extremely good points. It's kind of like, yes, we have the ability to talk to folks wherever in the world, kind of like we're doing right now. However, even in this chat we're having right now, obviously some of our folks, we're coming from many different reference points here. Somebody says something, one thing might pop up, one person might think that's a kind of cool idea, another person might think it's the absolute most bulks they've ever heard.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
we still have to do that. But no, I'm saying is, if we're coming at it from good faith,
yes,
I think that helps.
A disagreement is not about having a frame of reference. A disagreement is based on the fact that you have different perspectives on a particular subject or an issue, which you can then frame in terms of your perspective. I mean, we're talking about, you need to have a, I mean, it stems out of the, the cultural norms, or, I mean, a lot of people, even Britain and America, right? We speak the same language, and Canadians and Australians and New Zealanders, we all speak the same language, but we are cultures separated. It's a language separated. It's a common language separated by cultures.
Yeah, so even though it should be respected, but I mean, it can change over time.
Yes, but the way in which people express themselves, or the way in which the culture influences, and plus the use of words, of course, because I mean, liberal over in the Oxford English Dictionary, the word liberal hasn't been corrupted over here in the same way as it has over there. I mean, they're trying damn hard to corrupt the language, but language tends not to be corrupted as easily. So we tend to refer to the dictionary definitions a great deal more. So when people in England are talking to American and the word liberal comes up, you have to understand the frame of reference that they're establishing. Is it the liberal as in classical liberal in a fiscal conservative sense, or is it a liberal in terms of Berkeley University? So you have to build up those levels of understanding between different, if you're in different cultures, that you wouldn't necessarily have to do. Say I was talking to Jensen.
Yes and no. I mean, yeah, because left wing and right wing in America is totally different than left wing and right wing in Europe.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, like, everybody talks about, Nazism being a right wing thing, but that only applies to European right wing, because left wing or American right wing is classical liberalism, for lack of a better way to describe it.
You see, but you're building a frame of reference, and that's exactly what you do, utilizing the shared language, but relative to the community which you're in, or the the societal norms which you experience. And there are different societal norms between cultures.
You don't always have that option, though. And
but what does that have to do with arguing, though? I'm confused.
No, but what's going on? Like, couldn't you just come up with something that sounds cool?
Well, you could, of course.
Well, yeah, that's called the word salad of progressives, whatever.
Now, Emma, you're saying that this has nothing to do with argument. Well, it does, because this is where an awful lot of arguments come from, is a misunderstanding of frames of reference, or the particular usage of words, or vernacular, or colloquialisms, or whatever it happens to be. And so, therefore, you end up with a lot of conflicts, which may not even necessarily be conflicts. And then you end up resolving those, like MC and I, right? I mean, we've had plenty of interesting arguments. Now, some of them have been, topical. Yeah, some of them have been specifically on topic. Some of them have actually just been about our perceptions or perspectives on how things operate. But in doing so, we have had a lot of confusions at times where we've applied words in, the interpretation of the word is not the same between the two of us. And that's why we end up in an argument. And then we end up clarifying it because we give it a frame of reference or a particular, definition, or say, no, I'm not using that particular interpretation of that word. I'm using this one.
But
so
Cabbage,
words
no. So what you're saying is,
don't start saying that's what you're saying.
Wait,
no.
This is not Channel 4.
That's a good reason for an argument.
No. Although that is now just a meme. Let's actually consider what was happening there.
You're going full on Kathy Newman.
No. Here's the thing. What actually happens if somebody says something and you respond with, so what you're saying? If you do that properly, you're restating what your opponent has said. And is that not the medieval debate tactic of restating? So once you restate it in a way that your opponent can agree with, then you can proceed on.
Right.
Like,
the problem
we mean the hell out of it.
Well, it's not just that. The problem, it's misused. All right, and it's intentionally misused as for a tactic by certain individuals that are quite clever actually in how they're doing it, but they end up doing it so that they can take control of the conversation, so that they can then steer it and then create misleading commentary.
Yeah, it's a debate technique, but it's not. I mean, it's a strategy. It has nothing to do with the the use or the understanding of language. I mean, it can be. You can. I mean, well, no. If you wanted to do that, then you could say to clarify, or it does. I mean, you would relate it to what your interpretation would be. So you'd say, would that relate to, or would there be some relevance, or there are plenty of other ways of doing it, but the way in which it's applied and the way in which it's used, like especially with TV interviewers, or these people who want to try and do a gotcha, like Kathy Newman. It's just it's a tool in their in their kit box that they can use. Yeah, in their arsenal that they can pull out if they think they can get a gotcha question. Well, it's a very weak form of debate.
Yeah. Well, you'll see that the reason he said that is the same reason I was thinking the same thing when he said it, and that is, look, I've heard this so many times as a tactic, it actually just irritates me when people try to pull it out.
Yeah.
But what if you did it with good faith? That's literally what I'm saying.
Means
you just because you wish good faith was there doesn't mean it ever is.
Yeah.
And now we're back to the conversation that I started with when you talked about people. You said people, children are honest.
Oh, well, I mean, if you say something that's very logical that somebody may view it as conceding ground, especially on Twitter, they'll probably not interact with that logical statement. It's much easier to go after the vitriol because, let's face it, I mean, everyone loves a good dumpster fire.
Well, emotions are much easier to appeal to than logic.
Exactly. Or facts, of course. Facts are the enemy.
Logic and facts are the same thing. Yeah. They're synonymous.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
See, no, there's a disagreement, but you're able to move past it. Why? Because we think we're coming at it from good faith. We're not trying to destroy one another.
How are logic and facts not synonymous?
Logic utilizes facts. Facts are autonomous. They live alone. They are things which have been identified. Logic is the method of utilizing those facts. So the facts are the building blocks upon which logic is built.
So they're synonymous.
No, they may be to you, but they're not.
One's the data point, and one's the actual function.
One's
they can't exist. One can't exist without the other. So the synonymousness is.
Oh no, you can create logical fallacies.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can create,
but it has fallacy attached to the back of it, which means lie.
Yes, but you can apply logic to fallacies.
The logic that are used is the methodology that's used to buttress the fallacy to begin with. You can go using logic, what simplified logic, granted. All right, if people aren't aware of where a data point is false when logic is being utilized or how it's being utilized, you can easily lead people to a misunderstanding or give them misinformation simply by using a logical pathway. It makes sense. If you, for example, one of Mad Dodge's favorite people used to do it all the time. And that's Glenn Beck. All right. Glenn Beck sits up there and goes, okay, this is tied to this, is tied to this, is tied to this on a chalkboard, and it flows on a chalkboard. And unless you have the historical context to going, yeah, but you're taking this portion out of context. Okay. You've used logic to demonstrate something that's completely inaccurate.
Well, MC, here's my question for you, and this is extremely important. At one point at that chalkboard, did Glenn Beck lose his mind?
The moment he picked up the chalk.
No, dude. He started off very sensible, and I actually cited him when the Fed started printing money out the wazoo. But the thing is, towards the end, and my brother Stats pointed this out, he's like, yeah, so I watched Glenn Beck the other day, and all I saw was a gold commercial and something for, like, MREs.
Yeah,
he lost the advertising.
A little far.
He still had excellent ratings.
Mad before the chalkboard. He had to be mad to think the chalkboard was a good idea.
Oh, dude, he was mad like a fox. He made a shit ton of money.
Morons can make money.
Well, no, he started out as a shock jock, so he was kind of a moron. But anyway,
then he started crying.
let's wrap this back around.
Oh yeah, using the onion. Using the onion.
Oh, yeah, that was dumb. Or the Cheeto dust, you know, to describe Trump. That's when I just stopped. I'm like, no, Glenn, you lost me. How did you lose me of all people? You fucked up. Like,
I stopped listening to Glenn forever ago when he started obsessing about religion being the basis for how all of America can run. I was like, well, no.
I only watched it as a metric in order to see just how far down, how far down America was going to go. Really, I'm not kidding. It was like, when he was on Fox, it's like, really? People are...
Wait a second. Cabbage, no one would ever look at a situation and want Schadenfreude to occur.
I wasn't wanting it. It was just, like I said, it was a metric I was using. It was a canary in coal mine, shall we say.
Yeah, and Mad Dog wanted to bring this back around.
Yes.
Well, yeah, no, let's wrap it back around. Cabbage and MC, you guys jumped in a little bit late. Any ideas on how content creators could, I don't know, not just regurgitate the same information in a slightly different way over and over again? Like, what would Sargon need to do to bring some fresh content to his channel, let's say?
To bring fresh content?
I mean, that's why you go topical, right? That's why I use topical news stories or whatever. He's just repeating
himself, though. He's kind of even. I'm basing this off of what Rat said, and I kind of agree with him. Sargon and Styx, they're just repeating their same perspective over and over again.
Well,
and that's what worked. But can't you switch that up? And how would you do that?
Well, you'd have to change
for our
your value
genre as a whole.
You'd have to change your values. You'd look totally schizophrenic if you did that. I mean, if you hold...
No, not change your values. I'm saying talk about something a little bit different, but, I don't know, not change your position. I'm not saying change your position at all.
Well, I think that's what Sargon does when he's not doing his, This Week in Stupid or whatever. I mean, he tends to go back, like his John Locke time. John Locke, and his philosophy, and, people can go and... and you can go along with their development, and you can also then, see whether or not you agree with them and look at the references. But I mean, if your philosophies hold any water, then you really shouldn't be changing your perspective that often. If you are, then you just appear spasmodic in your mental state.
Well, that's kind of the beauty of what Ayn Rand said about check your premise, then, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I've been invited. Oh, sorry. I've been invited to a friendly discussion.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
With whom?
With a particular gentleman, a particular individual whom we often spend time and stream with. Happened to have a discussion with yesterday.
Does it begin with O?
What?
Does it begin with O?
No, I think it's
Does it begin with Reality Temple on Earth?
It is a gentleman whom I was on a stream with him the other day.
Rat?
Negative.
Oh.
Reality Temple?
Oh, his brother Craig.
He has a yeah. Gotcha. I know who that is.
Okay, and?
Yeah, what's this discussion going to be about? And I'm guessing you're leaving, so tell us quickly.
Oh, he just commented on my little Sargon channel intro thing, and I saw it come up in his, so, let's see. Memes, you were in a Google Hangout with me yesterday. I would like to bring you on my show for a friendly discussion about interracial relationships if you are available.
Oh, fucking you.
Interracial?
Yeah, I mean interracial.
Or interracial.
What?
Interracial relations?
What's wrong with interracial relations?
Nothing. I'm just wanting to know. I'm just trying to clarify what he's.
Yeah.
I'm bad with words.
Interracial.
What?
Which is why we're trying to clarify.
Exactly.
Are you going there for interracial relations? Is that what you're discussing?
I don't think he's going there to have any. I don't think he was.
No.
I love the way you phrase that.
That was not what I meant. I'm curious.
What did you mean?
I'm just trying to clarify.
What are we clarifying?
I have
when did Hangouts
relationships, I think. I don't know.
When did Hangouts turn into a pickup? What is it?
What?
Tinder now?
Now we're back to how blood sports begins.
You guys need a reference point. Oh, yeah, it may have happened when I was on the stream the other day. I may have mentioned that my argument against any whatever you folks would call quote unquote ethno state. Basically, my argument against Angel Snubnub was the same argument I would use against Richard Spencer, and that's if I want to ask a Kenyan goddess out for sushi, God damn it, I want to be able to ask a Kenyan goddess out for sushi.
Why wouldn't you?
Well, because then folks are separating.
From what?
The quote unquote ethno states. If
those retards.
Hey, they're good folks. You just haven't disagree with them.
No, you ain't getting it from. They're just misunderstood.
No, those are the people that freak out because I'm multiracial. They're like, oh my God, there's no such thing as an intelligent multiracial person.
Wait, what? I don't know, dude. He was. I don't know what to say to that.
I'm trying to understand.
I think they'd like you.
Discussion.
They hate me.
I still don't understand, so I'm just gonna.
What are you gonna be talking about? In other words, memes like really
fucking black chicks.
What? I was gonna say dating and love, but okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that can be your perspective. That seems kind of cynical.
And is this a dating or is this
a committed bachelor?
Have you not worked that out yet?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is why Cabbage is single.
Yeah, by choice.
and this is how you have professional wrestling style antics between folks. Folks don't take it too seriously. Folks are coming at it from good faith. Yes, and as a wise man once said, I think many things can be used as a teachable moment.
Well,
you don't have any cash.
Yeah.
Well, no,
and was that?
It was
Barack Obama was a wise man, in your opinion?
Yes.
I just say Barack Obama was wise.
Yeah, he wasn't a deep thinker, but he was a long talker.
He was always the adult in the room, as my brother said. And the problem with always being the adult in the room is
he was the
Congress
adult
was going to do its job.
Room. He was a freaking snowflake in the room that had which is what we were talking about in this entire thing.
So what you're saying is
he was challenged in his entire life. The pathway for him has been paved with freaking golden lilies, for crying out loud. And you're coming back going, well, he was the adult in the room.
Well, no. Community organizer. He was doing things based upon his life experience. Whether or not it actually worked, I mean, hey, that's up for debate.
Well, no, and actually, I do want to move on to the only story I really saw today. MC, a space force. Are the bugs coming, dude? I mean, I mean, come on now. He could have called it something better. I want a space military, but call it something better than space force. They've been
talking about a space force for a long time.
Yeah, this is.
Well, today he directed them to create it. It is being created right now.
I'm sorry, but he's not really creating it. It's something that's been in the works for a long time.
Yeah, this has been in. I think there have been articles stretching back to like literally early 2000s that you can find talking about Space Force.
Oh no, this was promoted. There was a thing called Team B going back to the days of Reagan, which were taught when the original Star Wars proposals were put together. And in order to create the Star Wars, project that they wanted to introduce, they got all of the, the great writers of the day, like Heinemann, and they got, I think Asimov or whatever. I mean, whoever was alive at the time, they were getting, all the sci-fi writers to throw in their ideas. And the idea of an army in space was proposed because they were saying that, it would be, for deployment purposes, it would be ideal. So that's why they wanted a space station, which would be manned. And then if they needed to, strategically, they could shoot down people into, tactical teams into locations. I mean, it was mad shit, but, it was promoted even back then.
Yeah, the idea, first of all, you have to understand if the creation of a quote-unquote space force, all right, is done not by the President of the United States. It's done by Congress. Because Congress pays for it.
But the president signed a piece of paper, MC.
Okay. And
therefore it's all his fault. It doesn't matter how it actually works.
He's issuing a directive. He's actually putting it down. He's going to get criticized for it, and then he'd also get praise for it, depending on how things go.
Yeah, but the funds have to be, provided for it. Cool. You can propose anything, and you could even get something through, but unless you can actually get it through an appropriations committee, you ain't getting any cash to do it. So it really wouldn't matter.
But wouldn't it be like, if NASA doesn't even have a shuttle at this time, we got to ride with like the folks that supposedly are trying to destroy us? Like, I don't know, when having something actually dedicated to space defense, and how about maybe exploring new worlds or something like that?
There are diplomatic issues involved with all of that.
I think there should be more cluster bots, which, like deep space cluster bots to identify, potential threats to, incoming threats. I mean, that would be a good idea.
That would be a good use for nuclear weapons as well. And MC, here's the thing. You got to remember one thing about the Space Force, and that's it's got such historical precedent as well. Because we must all remember, back in the year of 1996, the bugs started to invade. And when the bugs started to invade, folks needed to step up. And when folks stepped up, we got shit done.
Okay.
Yes, well, it was only a metaphor for, I mean, the same thing happened during the Second World War, when the entire industrial capacity of America was, turned over to military production. So it's not like it would be unprecedented action.
Well, isn't necessity the mother of all invention?
Indeed, exactly.
The idea of a space force has been bandied about for quite a while.
Well, if you want to have some sort of functional space program, you have to build the space elevators so we can do more in the upper atmosphere.
Can't work. Never
it totally can work.
No, it can't.
Really easy to do.
No, it isn't.
Hold on a second.
Well,
Why can't it work, Cabbage?
Very simply, because you've got to allow for the friction of the atmosphere. So you would constantly have to fuel the thing in order to compensate for its orbit, because there would be so much drag on that cable by the wind. You got to remember, it's got to go through, say, the jet stream, or it's going to be going through major, areas. Every time there's
it could
any kind of weather pattern.
Markets.
So you would have to constantly feed it with it so that it can compensate its orbit. It would not be static orbit. People think that you just drop a line down and it just magically stays there. And friction doesn't exist according to that theory. Not only that,
there is a solution, Cabbage, and we must remember black hole bomb.
Cabbage.
And
yes.
I think
I majored in astronomy in college.
Yeah,
I can assure you there
that doesn't make you a physics major, does it? Doesn't make you a physics major working on the friction that would occur all the way up if you're taking.
Yes, and that's what the carbon fiber mesh that we have built and created and could see an entire shuttle with, and it would not.
Nanotubes are not frictionless. They are not.
Not talking about nanotubes. I am talking about a carbon fiber flexible mesh that can reduce heat or can resist heats up to 4,000 Kelvin.
I'm not talking about heat. I'm talking about atmospheric.
Friction is heat.
Well, I mean, but I'm talking about the actual resistance, the resistance which is going to be had, which will pull it constantly backwards. It would eventually be dragged back into the atmosphere just purely because of the atmospheric effects of the wind.
Only if you don't.
Only if you don't accept reality and you constantly feed it with fuel in order to maintain its orbit.
Everything is going to need fuel.
It would get pulled back if you took something, right? Just get a disc and you rotate it and you try.
Guys,
wait a minute. Are you assuming
Let's
that
stop arguing about George Washington's teeth.
And it would end up getting, especially if it snapped. I mean, the whiplash effect would be astonishing.
Okay, so you're assuming that the space elevator wouldn't actually have any thrusters or anything attached to it.
I'm saying that you would have to constantly be fed with fuel. It would be amazingly inefficient. Yeah, it'd be amazingly inefficient. Because you couldn't just then have the elevator, you'd also have to have some kind of fuel supply constantly feeding
inside the tethering case.
It's not impossible.
Inside the tethering case.
Cabbage is saying
it's already been developed. It's just a matter of.
It's been developed and it'll never get deployed. Okay. Look, we will find out who's correct.
We'll power it with hamsters. I've watched those Coca-Cola commercials.
Fuck yeah, man! Hamsters are the superpower.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe it could be done with an ion engine or something. Maybe it could be achievable with an ion engine, which is
You don't even need that.
constant burn or something.
With certain other aspects, depends on how you're. I mean, one advantage you have in space is, and one of the reasons why they use solar panels in space is because you don't have the kind of degradation that you end up with oxidation here on Earth.
Yeah, there's so much energy available for soaking up.
So there are possibilities of doing it from that perspective, and you are right about it. The weather would have a tendency to pull it back down because it would be slowing it. It would be acting as a drag upon the.
Well, that's the thing. The drag factor. It's the drag element that I'm talking about. It's how much drag there would be on that cable, and especially when you make it even wider in order to constantly pump.
But
what was that?
Fuel. Tesla coil. How's that work?
Yeah, no, because I thought that's how a Tesla coil gained its energy. If that was naturally moving across the Earth and it had friction, wouldn't that be possible to generate power?
Okay,
you could use the atmospheric friction to actually power the space station, but I mean,
when they attempted to deploy a tethered line to see if they could generate power using the Earth's magnetic field on one of the last space shuttle things,
that was a woefully bad idea.
It instantly snapped.
Yeah, that's a woefully bad idea. You don't want to use magnetism anyway.
But the thing is, you can power the station, but I'm talking about thrust. You have to give it constant. You would have to be constantly compensating.
Just like you do satellites that are already in orbit.
Well, you can't really just do that by having electricity in batteries. I mean, you have to.
I never said anything like that. I never even intimated anything like that.
Well, no, but I'm going to say, the solar panels. That was the thing. The solar panel, collecting solar, solar energy.
You use a sail instead of panels in space.
Yeah, well, if you did that, then it would be going against you while it was rotating. If you were in, you would have to orbit it in the opposite direction, and then it would have absolutely no effect. The sail would have no effect when it's on the dark side.
Well, no, I was just saying.
We were talking about the efficiency of the solar panels. That was it, Cabbage.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the efficiency to gather electrical energy. But what are you going to do with that electrical energy in order to stabilize the platform? I don't understand.
It depends on how you can do things within creating the different types of engines. That's what I was referring to.
Okay, well, yeah, like I said, I could see it maybe with an ion engine or something like that if they can get them sufficiently powerful enough to compensate for that level of drag.
And it would work just fine.
Well, I think it's. I disagree vehemently.
Fusion's more powerful.
I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I do have a question about this Space Force thing. It seems really odd that the Vatican comes out, a year and a half ago or a year ago and says, we think there are aliens, and we would baptize them if they showed up. That would be cool.
Wait a second.
Wait a second. What the Vatican said. And now Trump is like, we need a Space Force. Is Trump going to shoot these aliens?
Wait a second. No. Didn't the U.S. government start releasing footage of all these unidentified flying objects recently?
A lot of
the president of the United States would never make a sales pitch with a teaser.
MC, what can you tell us about the aliens?
Yeah,
I can't tell you.
MC, drop out. Do a barrel roll.
I cannot tell you anything about aliens.
I can tell you there's some crazy silver discs that are commonly viewed or commonly seeable through sun lenses when you look at the sun through a telescope.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And you also get a lot of them when it's in when you have an eclipse, a solar eclipse.
That is very interesting. Did anyone else know, as soon as we brought up this topic, it kind of sounded like 40 was having an orgasm, but in actuality he was sighing that we were talking about UFOs?
Yeah, it is a sad something. Well, just the thing that amazes me is they travel across the fucking universe, right? Or even the solar system. So they've got all this high technology. And the first thing they do is they crash.
That's right.
They're fucking the most incompetent joyriders.
They always crash.
First of all, they could be Asian. You don't know that.
Yeah, they just forgot to use the return signal.
Well, Roger was an alien, and he did like to drink.
Alf like to eat pussy, so.
Well, what if space travel is just so common for them that these are the asshole 16-year-olds? Like, maybe the zoo theory is true, and they're like, don't go over there near the fucking Earth, all right? We just want to know what's going on. And these are like 16-year-old drivers. I can't go there? Fuck yeah, I'll go in there first.
Is this,
and then they wreck.
Is this the parking lot that their alien moms take them to learn how to drive?
I was going to say, this is where they practice their parallel
that's
parking.
brilliant. That is
Nice. See, we got to work in theory here.
No. Here's the thing: we're actually part of the Kessel Run.
No, I love that. 40. That is class.
I thought it was like, we were a tourist attraction.
Yeah, but even then, it's why do they keep? Yeah, but if it's just a tourist attraction, they shouldn't necessarily be crashing, should they? With
sure, they're getting hammered, laughing at us, and they crash.
Well, that could be the case.
Space driving?
Feasible.
I mean, let's face it.
But that would indicate that aliens party, and they're not a particular threat. Then, I mean, they're just joiners, aren't they?
What?
They'd be there at spring break.
Make somebody particularly not aggressive.
They'd be there at spring break. Well, exactly. In fact, most people, when they've had a few drinks, tend to get a little bit more aggressive.
Well, that's why you got to balance it out and everything, man. Well, here's the thing. What if this was like their homeland? Because all I'm comparing this to is if you happen to be a Jewish individual, if you happen to be of a certain age, they'll actually give you a free paid vacation to Israel. From what I have heard from an individual is... Yes.
Wait, are you saying that the aliens are on a pilgrimage?
Are you saying that it's the Jewish question? The aliens are part of the Jewish question?
Dude.
Wait a second.
Wait, are you saying they're like missionaries? Like Mormon missionaries?
Wait, I'm confused. So are we talking about like a topic of Zionism, like actual like Puritans?
You brought this up and you don't even know.
No, we're talking about ethno-state ball pits in space.
Yeah.
See, I thought they were just chilling. They were just coming to pay homage and stuff. And do people really want to fuck everything?
I'm subscribing to the car park theory.
All I know is I got told you were highly promoted to marry a nice Jewish girl.
Space Jews. Taste the space Jews.
Well, it can be Italians because Italians are just, undercover Jews. We all know that.
This is why people think we're racist.
No, just cabbage.
No, just cabbage. Yeah.
Again, this is why cabbage is single.
No, this is why I don't date Italian and Jewish chicks.
God damn it, cabbage. Okay.
You don't have the ability to. That's why.
No, but in all seriousness, if Trump's not going to shoot the aliens, is he trying to break the nuclear arms treaty with Russia and send nuclear weapons into space?
What nuclear arms treaty do we have with Russia?
We have a treaty to not nuclearize space. There is a treaty with a bunch of different countries.
There was something.
Really? We have a treaty. We have a treaty with Russia.
Oh, God damn it!
There was an agreement, and it's not like the president could ever renege an agreement.
We had an agreement with the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, really?
Oh. Then I don't need to look it up because that's the premise of your argument. Okay.
Wait a second. Mad Dodge. No, that argument, what about the Bundys? Did they not have a contractual obligation?
Yeah, but MC, right? I thought being part of the atomic, the UN's atomic...
IAEA.
Yeah, that's the one. Doesn't that naturally, if Russia is, or the US, USSR as it was, became Russia, but they're still in the UN, so they still have to comply within that framework of the regulation.
The IAEA.
And how is it going to be enforced?
The IAEA had nothing to do with
observers.
The non-nuclearization of space.
They're going to observe people or rules being broken.
Well, that's what they do. Yeah, exactly. That's what they do in Iran. They did it. I mean, they do it everywhere. They look. But then again, Hans Blix was one of the people who was saying, no, there's no issue in Iraq. He was the one who was saying that this is there aren't any nukes. So
Yeah,
there weren't any
they
nukes
also
in
said that
Iraq.
they're
There were a
saying
whole bunch of other shit.
yes,
that
there was weapons of
Kurds,
mass
but-
destruction there too. So I don't want to hear that.
Well, I'm saying there was absolutely there was no reason
Okay.
for anyone to freak out about their nuclear
No, that was
capacity or
just-
anything like that.
No, that was just Clinton trying to take heat off of him getting accused of rape
Yeah,
and
well,
No, but I
sexual
want-
promiscuity.
I want to actually.
he should have
find
just
out-
owned that. So yeah, I done it. What are you
MC.
gonna do?
Be like Donald Trump.
I like a party.
MC.
Yeah.
Wait, go Cabbage. Just MC. All right. So, if correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing you say is there is no fucking treaty, and yeah, Trump may be nuclearizing space with this space force for military purposes. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that he's nuclearizing it. I'm saying there's no treaty anymore because the
So he
Soviet Union
could.
no longer exists. So the
So he
ABM
could.
treaty, which included the amount of nuclear material that we agreed with the Soviet Union not to put into space, which of course the Soviets immediately broke. All right, was proven by the satellite that crashed into Canada a few decades back. All right, that treaty is null and void. All right.
Well,
we
the Cassini probe
currently do not have a treaty with the Russians. All right, that sits up there and says the same thing, that we will not nuclearize space. There is no treaty that says that right now.
Yeah, but I think there's a difference between nuclearizing space and use of nuclear, because the Cassini probe didn't have a little nuclear power plant.
Right. The treaty specified specific amounts of radioactive materials, specifically plutonium and uranium by name, as to how much was authorized to be on satellites, right, for these types of programs.
So it's weaponizing as opposed to nuclearizing, as you would call it.
It's a matter of whether you're using it for energy generation or whether you're using it to create an explosion.
Well, and there was also
you could do both
technically. How much you could use, because some of the initial reactors that they wanted to put in space, all right, were pretty significant. Of course, the problem came about being, okay, what if it crashes? Then what?
But also the cost of lead. The cost of shipping all that lead up there in order to.
Well, the ship.
Actually, okay, so it's really, really hard to make nuclear cores used for power generation explode. It is really, really, really hard. They are far more stable than the plutonium and
hurtles
uranium
into the
used for
ground
bombs.
going thousands of miles per hour.
That's true, but if it does crash back into the Earth, it'll spread radiation over a wide swath. That was the concern.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't that there was going to be an explosion. It was the contamination risk that they were concerned about.
Well, I was just addressing a statement somebody else made previously in the chain of stuff. I was just the radiated or the active material used for rods in something like Fukushima or Diablo Canyon is completely different than the plutonium or uranium rods used in Big Bertha.
Yeah,
well,
and logically, here's the thing: if you're going to do any type of long-term mission, you are going to need some type of fission or fusion reactor to power that, right?
Well,
yes.
the Russians
combined with solar.
The Russians tried to create a nuclear-powered aircraft, and they couldn't do it because the amount of weight, that they had for the lead in the in order to protect the pilots was so thick that it just made it totally inefficient.
That's why the spruce goose was made of wood.
There you go. And it used fossil fuels. It didn't use a nuclear power plant. So,
well, it was kind of built long before there was anything like nuclear power.
But even if there was, it's still unusable. It's not really. I mean, unless you had a tethering cable and you fucking, the power plant. You connected to it, which was in a separate.
Are you really saying we need the world's longest extension cord?
The difference between that,
basically, yeah, that's right.
The difference, though, between that is the difference between shielding for humans and shielding equipment.
Oh yeah, no, but I'm thinking, but I'm talking about Space Force, and
okay. I wasn't talking about it.
Also highlighted so.
I'm sorry, what were you saying, Tema?
Space Force also highlighted orbital lasers.
Yeah, but
that's completely unsustainable and unreachable too.
Well, you know, you could power those off off the solar, though, like you said.
Yeah, but you can't upkeep them. You need to
No.
keep the lasers. There's just no way to maintain a laser in space.
Yeah, you got to
Not
keep
like
you got to keep the optics clean.
Yeah, no, there's no way to maintain
Wait
a
a
laser in
second.
space.
Wait a second, guys.
There's actually very simple ways to keep the optics clean.
But
Yeah, it's
no.
gyrations.
What I'm hearing from Cabbage and Tema is, so what you're saying is you need a third party that nobody would expect. Almost if you gave yourself a name such as pew 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 pew.
No, it's not what you're saying. Yeah, what it's. I think what you meant to say is, are you saying? Not what you're saying. Don't make a definitive statement about us.
We need the pew 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 squad. Is that what you're saying?
Inquire.
We need the pew 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 squad, right?
Well, I learned something new. But so is PewDiePie behind this all?
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, dude.
The visions expressed by the memes of destruction on the stream are not intended to be a factual statement.
I think this is a 4chan experiment.
No.
So?
Since we're talking weapons in space, can we discuss the possibility of a magnetic linear accelerator?
The magnetic linear accelerator will not be possible outside of our planet because our magnetosphere is not stable enough.
Wait.
Now, if you wanted to put it outside of something like Mars or the moon,
the ability to use superconductors is much more enhanced in space, especially because of how you can heat shield it, and therefore the creation of superconducting magnets, all right, which can generate a lot of things for like a railgun perspective, all right, is actually.
Wait, I was about to say that. I'm like, wait a second. So what you're saying is we'd have a super effective potential to hurl projectiles at immense speed.
Yes, we could create the equivalent of a nuclear bomb from space with something that weighs about 8 ounces. But
nice.
It's hard to maintain something that
Wait for the stream blip.
It's hard to maintain something that has its own magnetic power generated when you have something as unstable as the magnetosphere around our Earth. You have to get out of the influence of our magnetosphere, or you have to sit inside another magnetic sphere, like in the moon or Mars.
Or
now, conceivably, you could still shoot that.
Or you generate it temporarily for a shot, which is what
exactly.
Yeah, but either way, you still don't have enough.
It would definitely be. It would be semi-automatic. It wouldn't be an automatic railgun.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It would be a one shot, and then it would have to be.
What if you were to make it a chain, kind of like a Gatling gun?
No, you still have to store the energy for the firing of it. You see.
No, you'd have
solar panels are increased.
It's not the solar panels. It's the storing of energy the storing of electrical energy is a dream that people have been looking for forever. It's the storage of that kind of power. It's not the generation of the electricity; it's the storage of the electricity that becomes the issue. And unless we can figure out how to do an energon cube, we're not going anywhere.
So what you're saying is
we
need the Space Force to seek out Optimus Prime.
What nonsense.
Or was that the Tesseract?
That was the Tesseract.
Well, no, part of it was the cleanup space junk and stuff like that. But I think he already put in before this that he wants to go to the moon and set up a base there. He reinstated that after Obama, killed it. So, I mean, I do like the idea of going into space and actually doing something with it, considering, everybody was so hyped about the first moonwalk, and then it all went to hell. Nobody cared anymore.
Mad Dodge in space. I'm sorry.
My mic messing up or something?
No,
he just
went off on
being a dick.
Memes just went off on a freaking tangent.
Nobody loves the Muppets anymore.
No, it's not. We like the Muppets. We just don't like you.
Well, that would be fair.
Well, I guess we could say that's kind of Cabbage as well, can't we?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I hate me, and I know me a lot better than you do.
Cabbage is like Bastion Booger. He would just kind of do that little dance and just rub his crotch in your face.
Only if you ask.
Oh, it's been forced upon me way too many times on these streams.
Cabbage's privates have been forced upon you too many times?
Well, proverbially.
I don't remember that.
Oh, here we go. Hashtag me too, everyone. Oh.
Yeah.
No, it's pound me too.
Another fucking liberal.
Depends on your definition.
It's pound me too.
Yeah.
You can't say hashtag. You have to say pound. Pound me too. Works much
Okay.
better.
What?
Yeah,
Oh.
pound me too.
Well played, lady. Well played.
Uh-huh.
All right, well, that's the only story I really saw, but there was something about Manafort again, MC. I'm sure you were watching that story. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Today?
I thought somebody shared it. I don't know.
He hasn't gone through the whole document yet.
No, I've not gone through that entire document, but I haven't seen anything on Manafort today.
Oh, okay. Any stories?
I thought it was about.
What about Comey getting
Wasn't it? Yeah, it was
investigated finally?
Comey's the one
Oh,
I heard
Comey.
about.
That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Comey. There you
That's
go.
right.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry,
Oh.
my bad.
Oh yeah, from the recent report, right?
Yeah. Meet
From the
Jim
IG report
Comey.
that I haven't been able to read yet because it's like 600 fucking pages.
584.
The IG report that no one here is going to read because it's 580 pages.
Well, the problem is it's being investigated by the Inspector General. That's useless. I want a freaking criminal investigation started on them.
I want an
Was-
independent investigation.
I think
crime
I
committed?
would agree with you there too. It has to be an independent as well.
But,
An
but
independent
don't you need a crime to
investigation-
bring a criminal investigation?
No.
At this point, Comey has already perjured himself. There are plenty of crimes.
Yes.
He's perjured himself before Congress 4 times now.
For what?
According to the IG report about bias.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
first of all, about what he knew. He perjured himself when he said that he didn't make the decision to exonerate Hillary. All right, which now his own memos and his own statements prove that was not accurate. That he was already writing the exoneration memo prior to him even interviewing her. All right, and he was asked that specifically by Congress. So there's several things that he's already committed perjury on. All
Well,
right?
and it looks like his conversation he claimed he had with the president may not have been entirely truthful either. So
What a surprise. Okay, and there of course is the fact that he was any memo that he had dealing with the president in any presidential conversation, because it was a conversation with the president that has not been declassified by the president, is automatically classified. And
Yeah.
his taking of those memos meant that he was mishandling classified information, and furthermore intentionally leaked that classified information to people who did not have a need to know or have a freaking clearance to have access to it.
Hence
But I
the
thought
move
his
to
friend was an
hence the-
FBI agent.
hence the
No,
need
holy-
to acid wash the email servers and the different phones that were being utilized.
Well,
Well,
That's crazy though. Look at what they did to betray us over what, leaving a document in a desk. I mean, yeah, he had a mistress and shit, but I mean, look what they did to him. I mean, come on.
well, but the big boo-boo for Petraeus was having a mistress because he was a Navy general.
was
No,
he
it violates
we
the
had
code
that.
of conduct for being in the
Army?
military.
I think he was Army.
Or Army, sorry.
Yeah, we
That's
had
his
one of
Navy,
those
so-
back in the
Yes,
60s with what was it, the Profumo affair.
If you are in the military and you have an affair, you can be brought up on charges.
You could be court-martialed for it, yeah.
It is illegal. Flat
Yeah,
out.
well, like I said, well, we had this over here with the Profumo affair with I can't remember her name. There was a particular actress model that the Minister of Defense ended up having an affair with, and he ended up in all kinds of shit over that one.
Yeah.
Keeler, wasn't it?
Huh?
Christine Keeler. wasn't
Yes, that's the one, Christine Keeler. Yeah, they made a film about it, didn't they?
it? It's the only reason I
So-
know.
But the whole reason Petraeus got burned so badly was because he had that extramarital affair. If he had just accidentally leaked something to one of his aides or something, it wouldn't have been as big. It was the fact that it was his mistress that he was sending the information to.
Well, I thought he didn't even send it to her. Like, it was just a file that was in his desk and someone caught wind of it.
Oh, I don't know. It's been so convoluted.
thought that was
and
just
it's
an
been-
Well,
Doc.
she got interviewed where she said he was sharing classified information with her for her book.
Well, who was the person?
Oh.
Who was the guy who had the briefcase and he hadn't reset? When he bought it, it was, you know, they're always set, aren't they, to 0000000, you know, on the release. and he hadn't changed it. So
didn't that get lost?
Isn't that part of the Wasserman Schultz thing?
I think, yeah, is that the one? Okay, yeah, they haven't even changed the fucking. Yeah,
I think that was. I don't know. There's been so many Democrat
Unbelievable.
scandals over the last 3 years. It's really hard to keep up with what's going on, because it's like half of the major ups in the Democrat National Convention, their head group for their party. There's so many people under legal hot water right now. It's kind of hard to keep track of just how dirty things have gotten. I'm just waiting for the Republican side of it to come out.
Oh, it's bound to be an opposite.
Well, the advantage that the Republicans have on it is that because the press is the press, anything that the Republicans did wrong that the press ever got they got a whiff of, they instantly outed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they had to do either one of two things. Either they had to be less corrupt, or they had to be a hell of a lot better at hiding it.
More devious.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean there isn't anything there, though, does it?
No, it doesn't. But I mean, it's going to be a hell of a lot harder to find.
We're not saying.
Well, you know, as far as I'm concerned, Republicans and Democrats are pretty much the same thing these days. If you're talking about establishment, they're two sides of the same coin. These people all go to the same parties. They go to the same schools. They schmooze in the same
problem
places.
is they became their own internal. What do we call it? Echo chamber of themselves, and they started believing their own superiority and vulnerability, and that's what's shaking them up because of Trump. That's why they're so dead set on getting rid of Trump, because Trump is not part of their little collective. They're not part of that little inner circle.
Just like Ronald Reagan was.
He's not part of the cool guys club. You know,
is it because they don't have all those extra controls and stuff?
Yes. Okay. It's because they cannot manipulate him. Reagan had the same problem. I mean, people don't talk about Reagan was pretty much an idealist. You know, he believed that everybody that came across his desk and everyone who talked to him really loved his country as much as he did. His wife, Nancy, was the one that kept the really bad actors out of his cabinet and out of his ear. You know, I don't think Melania is going to be running the same interference for Trump. I think he may be a little more.
Well, but Trump is a bit more adept at what he's dealing with. I
was going to say Trump has a lot more savvy because he's grown up in the business world and dealt with politicians, whereas that wasn't the world that
he was also a New York builder.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's something to say. Oh my God, this guy's talking like a New York construction worker. Okay, and
I don't know. I mean, I think it's really when they became professional politicians, when it became a career path, where the problem, really came in. And we have the same thing here, Absolutely, and I would never elect anyone. I wouldn't, whether it's in local or in central government, who's never had a job, and yet you got these people who come straight out of university.
Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, exactly.
That's an ad hom.
No, that's
not. That was an example.
It's an ad hom.
It was an example.
College till he was almost 50. Come on.
It's the framing of an ad hom.
Well, he hadn't had. I'm saying
what private business has Bernie Sanders ever worked for?
Well, apparently he's building up himself a very nice. He's building himself a very nice property portfolio. Didn't he just buy himself his like 5th house or something, 7th house?
He has to think of his future.
He's been in government his entire life. He went from college to the mayor of Burlington, and he parlayed that into a congressional seat, and then he parlayed that into his Senate seat.
But that's
Bernie
exactly
Sanders has never worked a job in his life.
Yep, no private sector experience whatsoever. No private sector experience, but actually living out in real life and doing his shit like you have to do. When was the last time you ever dug a ditch
in the trough?
Politicians are real people too.
Bollocks.
I thought Joe Biden hadn't worked a real job.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Could part of this just be... No, well, here's the thing. I don't really go out of my way to hate the player. I try to look at the game more and throw my game genie in there.
But I'm talking about the game. That's the point. Yeah. I'm talking about the game. I'm saying that the game has changed because you ended up with people who do nothing other than live in this bubble. They've never been outside of it. They don't really experience anything beyond it.
Is anyone telling them this? Like, is anyone telling them that maybe they're wrong on something? Like, that's actually around them. Like, or are there just like a lot of
not in their entourage?
Okay, et tu, Brute. I mean, you've got to. This is something that's been happening since we've had.
This naive memes.
Well, this whole people flock towards power, and they think that if they acquiesce to the people in power, they will get their own power. This is human nature. It's been since we've figured out how to have kings.
Well, should it be that way though? Like, if
it doesn't matter if it should be. I mean,
from good faith place.
Should we have clouds in the sky when I want it to be sunny? It's a moot point. It doesn't matter. This is what it is.
Clouds will pass.
Yeah, but you can't
still
make
exist.
them pass.
And I can't make them move, no matter how.
Cloud seeding. Yeah, cloud seeding. Silver iodide.
Yeah, or a moon-based giant rail gun.
That's more plausible than cloud seeding.
Biden actually clerked for a Wilmington law firm for 6 months.
There's a girl called Tara Palmer Tompkinson.
Biden also rode the train every day to work.
There's a girl called Tara Palmer Tompkinson who's one of these people in, the aristocratic echelons, the elites. And on her 18th birthday, her daddy had it organized that they would cloud seed to ensure that she had a clear day. And she did.
Okay, but that doesn't mean they moved the clouds away. It just
they did. They took the clouds from up there to down to the ground. That's a movement. They got them to dissipate.
Well, how's that different? Except that's the world's most expensive pony.
Yeah.
Oh, she got a pony too, probably, and a Porsche, and God knows what else.
Well, yeah, and now she's just another trust fund baby that has absolutely no ability to deal with reality adversity and will never earn a penny in her life.
Well,
congratulations, another dysfunctional.
Yeah, but she never needs to work again a day in her life. Well, I mean, she used to be a TV presenter, and this, one of these people who's a celebrity for the sake of being a celebrity, rather like Paris Hilton. She's
Chelsea Clinton?
Character. No, Paris Hilton. Well, yeah, Chelsea Clinton too. Yeah.
I like her burgers.
Chelsea Clinton's burgers?
Oh, Paris Hilton, isn't it? Not Red Robin, but the other one.
Hardee's.
What?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I have actually ever been to a Hardee's.
Have you been to Carl's Jr.?
I have not. I am deprived, man.
Oh,
or In-N-Out.
Carl's Jr. Maybe that's.
Oh, In-N-Out, you are missing out.
Mm-hmm.
Carl's Jr.
Swine.
But no, In-N-Out.
We have Five Guys up here.
Five Guys is good.
Five Guys isn't bad. It's kind of greasy, but
you get free peanuts.
I like.
They were burnt.
Not all.
Hashtag not all.
Not all peanuts.
Pound not all.
Pound not all. Pound not all.
Yeah. See, a little reciprocal play, a little bit of banter. Oh, this is how you have a good discussion with folks that might vehemently disagree on things. It's possible.
What do we vehemently disagree with?
Yeah, we were having this debate.
We've been waiting for you to actually stand up on principle for something so that we can have that disagreement, you frickin' lazy coward.
Well, we're the ones who are debating. You're the one who just throws in random fucking, social references to absolutely.
You really don't like social physics, do you?
There's no social physics. Fascinating. Fuck you.
Rick. Oh, okay, I'm just gonna rage quit.
You want to talk about proof that quantum entanglement works? Just watch social.
Oh, that's what he mentioned.
Oh, Jesus. I swear to God. No, I just weep for society because people, this is like the flat Earth crazies. How do you think that happened? It was
Cabbage. I may throw out a lot of stuff at many times, but here's the thing: the things that I throw out, just play all the way through, whether it's intersectionality or whatever it is. All right, and come from a good faith argument. Entertain the idea and just fully map it out. See where it goes. Sometimes it will disprove the person you're talking about. Sometimes you might disprove yourself.
No, it's just bollocks, and it is, and you're just doing it for shits and giggles. Don't try and
we used to build big, great things that took hundreds of years.
Don't try and
encrust a little lazy.
Don't try and encrust
5 billion years. Nova's coming.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, you're full of horse shit. Anyway, you see, It's your nonsense that breaks up a decent conversation and a debate, you know, where people were actually just expanding on issues, and he just suddenly bring in. It's like,
I caused that, Cabbage. Don't give him any credit for that. Come on.
Man. Okay, that was your fuck up then.
I don't break everything.
No, that's my job.
No, but you're a dick.
Yeah, it's my middle name.
Oh, pot meat kettle.
Yeah, well, at least I'm a productive dick.
No, like literally.
Oh, I thought you were an
incel.
incel. That's not very productive.
I'm not incel. Incel is involuntary. I choose to be a bachelor.
No, he's a born again.
Doesn't mean I don't have sex. It doesn't mean I don't go out and date. No. I like women. I don't like the marriage.
I like women,
and I don't like the the legal requirements or religious ones either. So I agree that men and women can actually just live together quite happily without anybody else fucking bothering them.
Bastard. No.
Okay.
I see. That's my stance. MGTOWs are mental. I don't understand. An incel is just a new thing that that appeared. I don't know. I just think that was a journalist who hadn't done research and never understood what a MGTOW was.
No.
I just made up a new fucking acronym because they love doing that.
See, join the club, Cabbage.
Incel was an attempt to describe certain Muslim men because in areas where they're basically women starved of wives, because multiple wives are going to other men, and so the availability of wives is quite limited.
So this kind of something to monogamy and what Professor Peterson was saying.
China as well, but China's problem is the fact that there's more men than women due to the fact of abortions.
Well, yeah, infanticide, if we want to be honest.
Or infanticide. I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Same thing in China, of course. You got the same thing in China. You got this massive mismatch.
Well, right, but that's because, like Atima was saying, they're basically killing their children if they're a girl.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because that's always smart. You don't need genetic diversity to keep your population going or anything.
Oh no, but we need to import that kind of cultural diversity in order to make our own societies better, right? Because obviously it's got to be good because it's different.
Oh yeah, groupthink is so sexy.
Yeah.
You
don't sound convinced. I don't understand.
Oh, collectivism is a way to make you drive it quick.
I like Hawaiian pizza.
Fuck you. Fuck you. And the horse you rode in on.
I'm sorry, Matt. I did it again.
Yeah, no, and I gotta get your back. Yeah, pineapple does belong on pizza.
Yes, pineapple is delicious on pizza as long as it has something salty.
See, it's fucking 4 versus 1, Cabbage. This is gonna turn into a gangbang.
No, it's 4. It's 3 against 2 because because I am definitely not for the freaking pineapple on pizza. Sorry.
Okay.
Have you ever had roast pineapple? Sorry.
Delicious.
Don't give a shit what you do to it. It just shouldn't be on a pizza. It'd be like sticking strawberries on it.
Yeah,
well considering pizza comes from America.
Yes, pizza comes
from
America.
So, no, it doesn't. Pizza comes from Italy. What the fuck are you talking about? Americans didn't invent pizza. Are you fucking joking me? Flatbreads have been around since the fucking medieval. Well, I mean, since the ancient times.
Flatbreads came from Italy. The modern inception of pizza came from America.
Bullshit.
I thought pizza came from the pizza.
Have you ever ordered a pizza from an Italian firm in Italy?
Yeah, it tastes like shit.
Yeah, because
if you put peppers on
from America, it was introduced.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't. Originally, what used to happen was there would be leftovers on Sunday. People would do they'd have the fish and the chicken and they'd have the meats and things, salamis and everything.
Well, either way,
and whatever was left over, they would then put on a flatbread and they would have it for Monday. It was a peasant food.
Okay, but a flatbread?
It was the Italian equivalent of a casserole with using leftovers. That's what an original pizza was.
And that is not what a pizza is.
Yes, it is. That's what it originally was.
Not introduced in America. Not as pizza is classically hailed now for the last century.
What do you mean? No, that's where the pizza actually came from. That was a heritage.
No,
that was a
because
heritage.
it
then got modified.
Tomato sauce on it.
No, it got modified when it went over there. Yes, it did have tomato sauce if there was spare tomato sauce. That's what they did. They used the leftovers.
Okay,
so it was whatever was available.
Okay, you can shout it all you want. That doesn't change the fact that it was introduced at
the
big
fair
at St. Louis. Doesn't change the fact that pizza as we know it today was introduced at the St. Louis Fair back in like 1902 or some shit.
About when pizza was developed. No. That's quite interesting.
Just because cabbage can't handle the fact that something came from America.
No,
you just can't handle that. If something comes from America, cabbage is going to have a temper tantrum. This happened the last time.
Wait a second. Is this why you don't like President Obama?
No, I just don't like it. When I mean,
this is America anyway. If you believe Hillary Clinton.
This is an example of misappropriation of culture. Is what it is.
Stop misappropriating his culture, everyone.
I'm not
because he's so Italian.
Wait a second. Am I hearing an argument that I've heard before? Things really do come full circle. Hashtag universal truth number 9.
Pound universal truth number 9.
Hashtag fuck universal bollocks.
I like your ideas.
Mad Dots, check the DMs in Discord. You might like the picture.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, so you guys are done arguing over pizza?
I guess we are. I was, whatever.
Although, I still
Let me guess, French fries are French too, right?
Yes. Freedom fries. Freedom fries.
So is French toast?
Why do you think they even call them French fries? You think that the clue's in the name, isn't it?
You're retarded. At the time that French fries and French toast were created, there was this love and allure of French culture in America.
Yes, I know.
So
was
they
that
tried to make
60s
them
or something?
posh and fancy. 1910s,
50s.
dude.
Was it that long ago? Well, I thought it would have been like the 1950s.
It was in the first 2 decades of America, of the 1900s in America. Oh. Same time we had hot dogs introduced.
No. So you're saying that? Are you telling me that the French never had those before America did? Is that what you're telling me? Is that it?
Well, no. Why do people go for a vacation in France and stuff? The French are known to be a very intelligent, loving people. I mean, we got such characters like Pepe the Pew. I actually mean JF. Oh shit, maybe that's why JF didn't like me. I compared him to a skunk.
Well, no.
It was meant in a loving way, but oh shit, no, I see why you took it.
You're not retarded. He can't love you if you're not retarded. You have to be mentally deficient, so you're not in the right category.
Oh, ouch.
JF is an odd character.
I like JF.
I don't.
Nah.
I have no respect for somebody who claims to be a neuroscientist and then says he's going to live his life through the reality TV that he sees on the TV.
But if he makes a good salary doing it, and he could do it for the foreseeable future, and it's what he would prefer doing, what's wrong with that?
I don't begrudge him doing it, but you can't call yourself intellectually elite and super duper smart guy.
Well, he seems pretty smart.
No, you're into women who are mentally incompetent that are malleable, and you want to live your life like you're Kim fucking Kardashian? No, I'm sorry. You have no intellectual high ground as far as I'm concerned.
The heart wants what the heart wants.
The heart wants them potatoes.
What's wrong with potatoes?
I don't think it's the heart that he's thinking.
Oh, well, as long as it's Heinz ketchup.
Oh my God. Do you guys remember the movie License to Drive with Corey Feldman and Corey Haim?
No.
Carole King played his mom, and she was pregnant in the movie, and she would take these big bowls of mac and cheese, and she would squirt a bunch of ketchup in them.
Ew.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Every time, oh, God.
You have to distribute it evenly so it heats up the ketchup. Otherwise, it's cold and it's meh.
Ketchup belongs on meatloaf.
Why has no one kicked him yet?
Ketchup is in meatloaf.
You were just defending his freaking comment about pineapples on pizza.
Yeah, but I'm not a fucking heretic.
See how easy it is to divide people?
You see, now this is why Anthony Bourdain committed suicide. He just listened to a bunch of fucking Americans talking about food and said, I give up. I fucking give up.
Coming from the country that lives off of fish and chips and haggis, okay?
Well, it's horseshit. No. The only reason that our our food ended up tasting like shit. And the only experience that the Americans, or the reason that Americans got that impression, was because of the Second World War, and we were on rationing, and there was fuck all. So the Americans went back home saying, "Oh, British food tastes like shit," because we had nothing. You know, thanks a lot for 3-year delay. But now you look at how many Michelin restaurants there are. Look at the actual quality of the restaurants here now. Now it's superb food over here. No problem
it's
at all.
superb food here too.
Cabbage, can't you let go of a grudge?
Yeah,
no, he can't. He's really, really mad that 200 and something years ago, America decided to say, "Fuck you, we don't want to be British."
No, I agree with that, because it was British people saying "fuck you" to the king. You were British colonists.
British colonists that were like 4 generations born in America.
Exactly, but that's the thing. It was a very British thing that you did, was tell the king to go fuck himself. We also did it. We beheaded a king. You should have done that. That would have been better. You should have come over and actually taken his head off.
Oh God, these new memes are going to be horrible.
I have no problem with the War of Independence.
No, I'm thinking if you have a lot of political pundits with large followings doing something like that, and folks actually start doing some history, like you just said.
Huh. Well, no, I think it was a damn good thing they did. Congratulations. You earned it. What you've done with it, I'm not too sure about, but you earned it.
Yeah, especially after the freaking war, where you came back and tried to freaking mess with us constantly.
Well, you did go up and try and burn the Canadian. Well, you burned the Canadian Parliament
even
down.
before
so
burning the Canadian White House. You guys were freaking funneling arms and inciting the Indians.
This is why Canada is a security threat to the United States, I heard.
It's interesting that a lot of the Americans who'd moved over into Canada ended up fighting on the side of the Canadians, isn't it?
Well, good.
Because they moved to Canada.
But then again, we got a bunch of Eskimos too, or Inuits, whatever the fuck you want to call them.
Okay, and
they don't like me.
There's plenty. Look at the Walrus Army who moved to Canada today, and unfortunately, the bastards never leave.
It's true.
What's wrong with Canada?
Everything.
Yeah, but then again, you also get people. But you also get.
If you can't figure out what's wrong with Canada, you need to move.
Okay, well,
here's
a question for you, MC. Then why does Stefan Molyneux, who always goes on about America and how great it is, not move from Canada down into America? Why doesn't he make the application?
Moving to America, if you're from as a Canadian back into America, is not as easy as you think it is, especially if you don't have sponsorship from a major corporation.
Well, as long as you can prove that you got income, and I mean, I did look at the process. It's rather like the Australian one. I mean, it's very difficult for a British person to get into America.
Yes.
So all I need to do is go and paint my face and come in from Mexico. I'll be fine.
Do they take your BMI like Iceland?
Get a rubber ring and go across the Rio Grande.
Did you sell your BMI in Iceland?
The funny thing is that you joke about that.
It was either Iceland or Greenland. It was one of those Scandinavian countries. In order to become a citizen, well, here's the thing: is BMI the best metric for trying to determine? Because a lot of things.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is morbidly obese according to the BMI.
Yeah, well, technically, I was as well.
Yeah, so you were trying to immigrate.
What?
You were trying to leave the country?
Not recently.
Somebody checks BMI as to whether or not you can go in.
Well, I mean, that was Mexico last time. Oh, Iceland.
Really? They got a BMI check on you?
Oh, they did a few years ago. They may have gotten rid of it.
Okay, that's odd. All right. Well, probably too many Americans applying.
That's mean.
Oh, but I thought
preventative medicine.
If our food sucks, how are we so fat?
Quality. Quantity doesn't equate to quantity. Doesn't equate to quality.
High fructose corn syrup.
Yeah.
I was going to say overglutenized wheat.
When I was on the States,
we invented ice cream.
Yeah.
Well, the fact when
we eat more ice cream per capita than anywhere else in the world.
Invented ice cream. Yes, right.
Yes, but we also have
going back to Italians again, Dick.
The Italians did not invent ice cream.
Gelato
is not ice cream. It's made entirely different, and it has different proportions for basic.
The techniques using salt and ice was developed.
The techniques for using salt and ice were done by salt miners in, what is it?
Where? What?
3000 BCE, dude.
Just
Really?
got to keep it rolling.
Salt
Why
and
the
ice,
hell-
3000 BCE. Where's the evidence?
Random
of
numbers
them
I pulled
using-
up to make a metaphorical point.
Yeah. Okay.
I was about to say, how the fuck do you know so much about food?
Yeah.
Have you
Because
not
I'm
been on
actually
Could be
stream
the
with
going
case.
us?
to culinary
How did
arts
they get?
college to
How did
become
they
a
get
chef.
the ice? How did they get the ice? Oh,
They
right.
lived by the Alps.
Okay.
Ice was a
So
little available.
yeah, where were they getting the salt from? Salt was very expensive.
The salt mine.
I mean, salt. Yeah, well, they have a salt mine up there too, do they? That's
Are
convenient.
are we back to the
massive
space elevator? Are we back?
And,
I
yeah,
think we
well,
are.
and how did anyone know about
knows
it?
some history.
Well, so did they actually draw it on what? I mean, it would have to be cave paintings if it's 3000 BC.
Archaeology.
Yeah. Well, what would you have to prove that? Where would be? I mean, no wood is going to survive that amount of time. Wood disappears, and most of the. I mean, when you make
The
it,
salt
it's enough
mines
wooden.
still exist. Do you not understand how salt
Yeah, but
mines?
that's just a wild assumption. Yeah, but I mean, how do you know they ever combine those two things? Where's the evidence that you? I mean, I could understand that if you're claiming that there were some cave paintings of people sitting there with a fucking snow cone.
Cave paintings
right?
in 3000 BC.
I'd say, where's the
Because
cave
there wasn't
painting of the
written
dude with a
Guys.
snow cone?
Here's the
Right?
thing, Cabbage. We know this to be true because Ronald Reagan was there and he told us before he passed.
Exactly, damn it.
Yeah.
She
And
already,
Nancy Reagan confirmed. She
she
wrote
already
it
said
down.
that. So I mean,
Total horseshit.
you're
course.
eating a horse, Cabbage. You
What,
didn't
with
listen to
gelato?
what she said.
What?
You didn't listen to what she said when she answered your question the first time, and you went off on a tangent, and you stayed there. It wouldn't get off it.
About what? What, I mean, the
About
pizza
ice
thing.
cream.
About ice cream. I just said it was, it was an Italian thing.
It was not
No.
Italian.
No.
I'm saying that they're the ones who, well, I mean, they certainly turned it into an industry.
No.
Gelato is not frickin' ice cream.
It's made differently.
Well,
They even have different proportions of milk and cream and eggs and sugar.
yes, but the technique in order to get the freezing
No.
process to work.
No,
well, you know,
actually, it's not. You make
this
them both
certainly
differently.
isn't 3,000 fucking years old. I know that for sure.
No, you said
that she
mixing
was just
salt and
using
ice.
that as a euphemism to begin with, and you went on and on and on about it being 3,000 years old.
Cabbage.
No,
our
she said
scrambled egg
3,000.
omelet. Our
She
scrambled egg
did, and then she
omelet.
clarified, saying, "Look, I was just pulling that out because just
It was a random number for
No,
a
because
metaphor.
she claimed to be a fucking archaeologist.
was-
No, that
she
can-
was an astrophysicist
I did.
earlier.
on and on and on, Cabbage."
Guys, it was not intended to be a factual statement.
It was
This
a
is-
metaphor, and I clarified it was a metaphor. And I said earlier in the stream that I had to take anthropology to be able to get my astronomy degree.
Yeah, that's right.
This is the most.
And
retarded
God forbid I
conversation
learned
I've
something
ever heard.
outside of what I studied in college.
This is the most retarded conversation.
Oh, come
well, it's
on.
certainly close.
Not
Okay,
even remotely.
we can improve on this. I guarantee you.
No,
Not
I
even
just-
remotely close.
I come here for the bants and the philosophies, and I get fucking ice cream.
I like ice
Oh.
cream.
Well, you know,
Here
it is
for
kind of warm out.
what?
The bants. The bants.
The banters.
Banters.
Banter.
Banty, 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 bant.
The to and fro. Back and forth.
Well, the
Mad
problem
Dog's
is
been
with
quiet.
Cabbage, there isn't really the possibility of much back and forth because as soon as he decides you've said something, even if you haven't said it, therefore it's spoken about for an hour.
Wait a second. So, Temma, what you're saying is cabbage is what's wrong with the internet?
I'm gonna. So
Kinda.
what you're saying is that your
Yeah.
favorite phrase?
It is. Yeah, he's definitely full on fucking retard.
Am I wrong?
You're pretty
Yeah.
accurate, actually.
Yeah.
Not listening is a big problem with the internet.
Yeah. But then again, that's also about clarification, isn't it?
On a metaphor, sure.
Or reference.
Yes.
Remember that a long time ago. Anyway,
Which one?
any other stories you guys want to talk about, or we've gone over 2 hours. We could wrap it up if you want. My kids woke up, so I'll have a lot more background noise now.
I would like to go
give
get some
me a
food.
couple
I haven't
seconds.
done that yet today.
I can
You're
think
gonna
of
go and get a pizza and some ice cream.
I was about to say, golly whiz, I should go for some ice cream.
Totino's
like-
pizza rolls.
More like a protein shake.
Pizza roll. Yeah, well, the protein shakes were invented by the Byzantines, by the way.
Oh my god.
Damn it, Cabbage.
Random Man is uselessly random today.
Random?
But no, MC, you said you had one last thing you might want to talk about. So what was it?
Yeah, 6 days ago from TMZ. Jamie Foxx accused in 2002 penis slapping incident.
What?
Wait, what happened to him?
I'll put the article in the hangout here for you guys.
Oh my god.
Slapped a chick with his dick.
MC, you're going to bring up a weird one. Why not bring up our dear friend Coon Coon again?
Yes, I have to
Do
find
that one.
though.
That will derail any conversation you will ever try and have.
Coon Coon.
Yeah, well, let me find this. But in the meantime, one of you guys can read this about Jamie Foxx.
It was Jamie Foxx.
Jamie Foxx is an actor.
Oh, okay. What's he
All right,
doing?
hold on. All right, so according to TMZ, Jamie Foxx is being accused of slapping a woman with his penis nearly 16 years ago. And although she's now gone to police, Foxx says it's an absurd lie. And he's going after her legally, TMZ has learned. The alleged assault happened in Las Vegas back in 2002. According to law enforcement, the accuser told cops last week that she and a friend were attending a party at Jamie's place when he tried to get her to perform oral sex. She claims that when she refused, Jamie struck her in the face with his penis. The accuser tells us after the alleged assault, one of Jamie's friends told her she had to get out of the house. She claims she went to a hospital the next day and when she got back home to L.A. to get treatment for a severe panic attack. Law enforcement sources tell us Vegas PD lists the case as an open investigation. However, the statute of limitations has long since run. It's 3 years in Nevada.
Yeah.
Jamie's attorney, Allison Hart of Lavely and Singer, tells TMZ, Jamie emphatically denies that the incident ever occurred, and he will be filing a report with the Las Vegas Police Department against the woman for filing a false police report against him. The first time Jamie became aware of this woman's absurd claims about an incident that was supposedly occurred 16 years ago was when TMZ contacted his representatives Tuesday about this story. All right, I can keep going. Oh, it's actually two more. Hart adds the alleged incident was not reported to law enforcement in 2002 or at any other time in the last 16 years until last Friday because the incident never happened. The accuser says that the Me Too movement inspired her to finally file the police report. She also claims she wanted an alleged incident recorded in case other accusers come forward.
Pound Me Too, right?
Pound Me Too. Yeah. Pound her too. Jesus, do you know how badly it would hurt him to slap her hard enough?
How close did she have to be, to his dick to begin with for him to be able to slap it? I mean, unless he's got like, a 3-4 foot schlong, I mean, she had to be pretty damn close to begin with. Well, yeah, but I'm still saying it's unlikely.
Okay, here's the other story that Jensen.
It does happen.
This one week, guys. This one
little boy's foreskin ripped off penis after becoming trapped in an escalator. A little boy had the foreskin ripped off the tip of his penis by an escalator when it got snagged in the machinery. The 1-year-old boy named Kun Kun was wearing open crotch trousers, aka split pants, popular in mainland China at the time of the accident. They offer parents of young children a convenient way for their kids to urgently use the lube, but exposes their genitals. The boy was with his family at a shopping center in Huangyang County in China's central Hubei province when the accident happened as he squatted down to play on the escalator.
Oh my God.
The family immediately heard the boy burst into tears and scream in pain, with his grandfather saying he almost fainted after seeing the state of his injury.
Wow.
Tip of your dick.
All I can think right now is mole rats. They're playing on the fucking escalator again.
Part of the boy's penis had been snagged in the gap in the escalator steps, which ripped off the foreskin as the device continued to move. The fire service later dismantled the escalator, and paramedics rushed Kun Kun to the hospital, where he was eventually transferred to Wuhan Children's Hospital in Hubei's provincial capital, where Dr. Wang Jun has been treating him since. The doctor said his entire foreskin was ripped off after a bit of his skin on the left side of his penis was caught by the escalator.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, and I thought zips were a problem.
Only a tiny bit of skin is left on the right side. Kun Kun's wounds were sutured at the emergency surgery, and the boy is in stable condition. Dr. Wang said he does not expect the freak accident to affect Kun Kun's fertility. The medic has urged parents to give up the habit of giving their children open crotch trousers.
Man, dude, if I was Kun Kun, like the first time someone ever saw my piece, be like, "What happened?" And be like, "I tore it off myself."
Yeah. The escalator incident we talked about.
Fucking badass. That's how crazy I am. Don't fuck with me.
It got burned off, and I had to lift up the molten lead chamber as I moved it across.
Yeah, I would say don't go down to such and such district. That bitch is crazy. I would not be admitting when I was a toddler I stuck my dick in an escalator and pulled off the top.
Yeah, it's a little embarrassing.
Oh, this is even better. In 2016, split pants on another 1-year-old child caused a similar incident when a child's fetus was snagged by his remote-controlled car.
Oh, Jesus.
No, not the turbo hopper. Why is this not reported? This is
I put the link in there if you want to read it.
That is hands down the best story I've ever heard in my entire life.
That may have been one of the worst things I've ever heard.
Those split pants, the process they use for potty training is called elimination communication. And on average, their kids are fully potty trained before they're a year old. So these kids that are getting their dicks ripped off are slow learners to begin with.
What?
Yeah, so what you're saying is that they had it coming to them.
No, I'm just saying that they had growing up in China was not good.
Oh, my dad just taught me to aim at the targets.
Right? He used Cheerios in the toilet, right?
What? No. My dad was a Jewish attorney. We used golf targets.
Oh, okay, so nice and proper expensive.
Yeah, he got his lopped off later.
What?
No, Mom,
are you saying you didn't go through your bris? Is that what you're saying?
I'm a terrible Jew.
I'm starting to think
I see, he's an Italian.
Starting to think that maybe elevators are a Jewish plot to circumcise little boys.
Watch that first.
This is why we need to have the Jewish ethno-state in space, right?
Yeah.
Wait, is that where it's on to the moon?
Then they
the space elevators, we can rip off all the foreskins.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yes, the ultimate.
No, fuck off, 40. I damn near spit beer all over my fucking TV.
40. Just as long as you pay the toll.
Well, they're already getting a tip. How much money do they fucking
Oh, it depends on how big the tip is.
Wait, so does this mean it's part of Pound Me Too?
What?
It's part of Pound Me Too. Or is it a lack of Pound Me Too that it's going to create in the long run?
Which side of the metaphor are we on?
The pounding part. Never mind.
Okay.
Yeah, I was about to
like,
say
are we pound sterling?
Well, Sterling's going to be pissed if you don't get Sterling's permission, but sure.
Toddlers on Twitter tweeting #PoundMeToo. Yeah, that's not nothing bad happening there.
Oh my god, I totally want to start doing that now.
Oh, please no.
Do it.
Okay. I won't.
Was that a good ending story for you?
We
there?
were talking about the fertilization of that.
We were.
Yeah, that story worked for the ending. Any last thoughts, guys, before I wrap her up?
Yeah, I want to thank Manic Idiot for coming up with that story and showing it to me.
And Manic, I want to get on a stream with you sometime. I think you and I could have fun talking shit to each other.
Oh dear God.
I'm sorry, Mad Dodge. We tried to clean up the stream. It didn't work.
I have a new video coming out in the next day or two. I recorded it today at Atema the Hun on YouTube.
It's Kun Kun's Great Escape.
It's going to be called
Hashtag release Kun Kun.
Oh, God.
We're terrible people.
That's why we're on the internet.
Yeah.
We aren't allowed in normal society.
I wish I could draw. This would be a great cartoon.
On that note,
Where's Max?
good night and good luck. We're out of here.